welcome back to another day of the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament. I know, I was gone for a couple of days. I'm sure you didn't miss me, but I'm back and I'm ever so enthralled, entertained, overjoyed, whatever words you want to use, to be joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Zute. How are you doing, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And you said you feel like you weren't missed. Trust me, you were missed by everyone, Imperium. Like, we're glad to have you back. I will say you missed a few days of quite exciting games. We had some very crazy circles, but it was if you take a look at the overall rankings, it kind of shows the same pattern has been continuing. Like the pacing of the teams trying to vie for first place between the top three, even the top four, still definitely still in contention.
Yeah, France having a 33-point lead. It's definitely not the not the smallest cushion in the world, but when you have obviously two teams per community, that can be closed very quickly across the board. I do think it's starting to look a little bit more like a three-horse race. I don't know what happened over the last 2 days, Zute, but it seems like Italy has low-key dropped the ball a little bit, as well as the Nordic countries.
Yeah, so Italy definitely has slowed down their pacing. Some of the other regions had really big games, or not exactly a big day, but they had really big games. Yeah. And the Nordic countries, like Mega Power and stuff, they did not do bad. It's just that these other regions had spectacular games, and that was pretty much it. I think they're still doing good, though, the Nordic countries. They're pretty much on pacing with like how they have been performing, which is pretty good. I wouldn't say they dropped the ball, so to say. Other regions just picked it up just a tad bit.
There. And UK region, we talked about 3 days ago or so when they got rid of their issues around players and being from the region and losing their points. They found a good bit of form between the two sides, it seems, jumping up to 8th, and seems like they're on track as well to, be hot on the heels of the Spanish community.
One thing that we kept talking about, V100, over the past couple of days, I will say they kind of hit, the last time you casted with me was when V100 kind of hit their peak over the course of the last 2 days. They didn't necessarily do bad, but those hype moments, those, in-game moments that we saw V100 in previously when you were here with us, they've been struggling a little bit. Not doing bad by any means, but compared to that peak they hit, they have been, not doing as highly.
Fair. Now, obviously, look, I wasn't here, and the wonderful DKZA was filling in my boots. Thank you so much, by the way, DK. You absolute legend. Came in last notice. Was like, yeah, I'm here. Happy days. Much appreciated, my friend. However, based on what you're telling me as we move on to the graphics of showing the participating countries and groups in today's games, he might not be liked by the teams with all the hardships and the painful circles that the teams had to deal with while he was casting.
Yeah, we dubbed it the African spice. Like I think that's what he called it. He said he brought the African spice, and it definitely led to some really spicy end games and some really spicy circle shifts. But hopefully, today all the teams here, groups A, B, D, and E, they'll even if we don't get those hard shifts, they've had a taste of it, and maybe they'll better adapt to those hard shifts if it happens again today.
Yeah, like. You were saying there was a Los Leones finish in the Miramar game and a boot camp finish in the Sanhok game in the same day?
Yes, in the same day.
Like, that's pretty wild. That's pretty damn wild.
The Los Leones one was really cool because you had like 90% of the circle in Los Leones, and it hard shifted eventually to the northeast where there was like a open pocket with a tall mountain, which is where the game ended. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the boot camp one was really cool too because it hard shifted to the northeast, like circle 5, and boot camp, and then it hard shifted back down, completely opposite ping pong, right? It hard shifted back down to the southwest, and that's when all the teams realized, oh damn. Okay, we're headed for a boot camp finish. And what was cool about that was on the initial hard shift to the northeast, naturally a lot of teams had to come in from the southwest, so they already filled up boot camp, so to say. and then the circle went back
Ah,
right on top of them, and so all the teams that kind of rotated around just kind of were forced into a meat grinder situation, and it was
amazing,
not pretty. Yeah.
amazing. Look, I can't promise players and teams that I'm going to be as nice to you. I don't have African spice on me, but I do have look at the Irish,
Yeah.
the pot of gold, the leprechaun. I'll do my best to help you all, but I am casting with the cursor himself, Zute. No offense, my
Oh,
friend.
no.
So anything is open to happening. But do you have? You've been obviously commentating the last couple of days and missed it.
Yeah.
Roughly, do you have any kind of expectations in today's games? Do you have anything
Yes,
specifically
yes.
that maybe you're looking out for?
I had a huge critique on the big team. I think, we're coming into
Ooh.
day number 9. They've been doing
Yeah.
really well. Don't get me wrong. They've been absolutely owning it. But we have not seen them close out a game. And yesterday, on the last Erangel match, they were set up perfectly to close out a game.
Okay.
And on cast, I said, this should be looking like a big game. But I have yet to see them close out a game. I think this one should be the easiest one for them to close out. And lo and behold, they had some slip-ups, circle 7 into the late game, lost 2 to 3 players unnecessarily, and then they did not close out the game. So coming into today, I think that's
Interesting.
one thing that Big should focus on. I get you're practicing
Okay.
your aggression. I get your team is doing really well, just picking up all the 11 points. But at some point, you got to be able to close out matches and get the chicken as well.
Look, there's no point in having the best foreplay in the world if you can't finish. That's all I'll say. As the map for game 1 has come upon us, it's diagonal, northeast to southwest. Nothing really to argue with. I think the Imperium look at the Irish is back upon these teams for the time being. We'll have to see where phase 1 goes, though, Zute.
Yeah, this circle, not the circle, the plane path does look pretty fair. We did see Mega Power and the rebranded team of, they're actually not
Real
playing
Ti-
today. Yeah,
Real
Real
Tiger, yeah.
Yeah, Real Tiger 9. We saw them clash in Pachinki, mainly due to when the plane path was not able to be stretched over to Novo. So we had the 100,
Okay.
not the 100, we had Mega Power and Real Tiger 9 fight a few times in the previous 2 days. But I don't believe Real Tiger 9 is playing today, so that should not be an issue. And looking at this playing path, Mega Power is still going over to the Nova side, so that is going to leave Pachinki completely open.
I would have thought Pachinki would have been a little bit easier in this kind of playing path. However, they're sticking to what they feel is best for them. Phase 1, it's not too bad. A little bit more heavily down towards a military island than the teams would like to have seen in this phase 1. But I think a lot of land availability to put yourself in a pretty solid position of this phase 1.
Yeah, this circle is pretty fair given the plane path. We do see some split drops that might have some early engagements as we head into the map itself. Yeah, so it's Bravis and Lemniscate. So we've seen this before in PRM. If you recall, there was a 4v4 at this
Yes.
very building. So it seems like they're still contesting each other, but they're no longer just dropping on top of each other. Instead, they're doing a little bit more of a split and relying more on strategy and teamwork. And it seems like Lemniscate's going to get the advantage because we see them mobilizing right now with the vehicle on the right-hand side. Whereas the rest of the Bravis team, I don't think they'll be able to get to Lewis in time.
Yeah, I think if Lewis can slow down Lemniscate and dance around him a bit, there could be a little bit of a comeback in the form of the rest of the Bravis teammates. But I do appreciate that Lemniscate are not wasting any more time overall. Nade being cooked up by Lewis. Nice position.
Oh, beautiful.
Cleanly knocked on the Shesh. That's a good start. This is the kind of slowdown. This is the kind of movement that Lewis wants to put on board. But we need to see a response from the rest of the team.
Yeah, really good grenade. He's only got 2. The second one actually also hits and damages that player up. But yeah, Lewis is doing a really good job stalling out. Oh, he's got a third one. So they know Lewis is isolated. They know this is like a 3v1 situation. Lewis, the best he can do is try and stall out. He just goes for another cook, but it looks like the rest of the team is coming in. Very nicely done. Tries to bounce it off the top of the wall as he hops down. Very valiant try by Lewis. I think the execution, the idea was played perfectly. Just a small little bit of timing mistake, but I think the bigger mistake is the fact that their teammates took so long to try and support, and it might be the initial split instead that was the biggest problem.
Well, yeah, of course, I would definitely question whether that kind of split was the right kind of split. However, I don't think it's a bad thing that the Bravos players didn't look to join up with Lewis and take that fight, because there's a really short time frame in which that execution works out, and you
Yeah.
have to make sure you get that time frame right.
Mhm.
And the fact that maybe they realized that it was too late, so they've avoided it completely, I think that's better than going in late and taking a 4v3 fight. So I suppose, as much
Yeah.
as I would like to have seen the Bravos teammates join up and help Lewis because he got an initial knock, I do respect that they didn't.
Honestly, the biggest mistake wasn't the split now that I think about it. It's at the very start of the match. We saw on the map stream, right? The three
Yeah.
players of Bravos were at their respective buildings looting already. I did not see any of them drop for a vehicle in the beginning on the roadside
Ooh,
to
okay.
go loot right afterwards, because if they first drop for a vehicle, right, they could pick up whatever scrap loot they can from their buildings and then immediately rotate to help out Lewis. Whereas
Okay.
starting off the match, dropping at your compound to loot, and then having to run for a vehicle, get in the vehicle and drive over, that takes a lot more time. So the
Oh
split
my
can be
god.
adjusted, but you should always, as a competitive team, secure your vehicles first before dropping in on the compounds to do the loot, especially on a split loot where you could potentially get contested. And they should know they've been contested there multiple times before.
And you're dead right, because that's something we see from the top competitive teams, where they'll actually fight over vehicles in the first kind of minute, right? Where you'll see one not being able to get a vehicle, an opponent does, and they're running around trying to avoid being run over. I'm really glad you bring up that point. That is, I suppose, one of the key differences between a less competitive team and the highest competitive teams across the world. So I'm really glad you
Mm.
bring that point on board. But the Blue Zone is starting to make its way in. 7 Up went for that split drop school apartments. Respect rotate them a little bit around them in terms of the Rosshawk area, but they seem to be avoiding each other for the time being. Game Lord yet to move out of Yasnaya and the 100. They're doing their usual kind of Lipovka prison split.
Something to point out, I realized I did make a mistake earlier on. I was talking about the big team, right? I was hoping they could, come in today and close and
Yeah.
secure dinner, but they're actually not playing today. I was so hyped
No
to
problem.
see
No
them
problem.
maybe adjust from yesterday, because yesterday's
Yeah.
game, that was the closest they've ever gotten to a chicken. And seeing the way they lost that, they know for sure they messed up. But it looks like they're gonna have to take a day's break and come in, tomorrow to see if they can make up for that lost chicken dinner. It might be a good time for them though. They could, sit back, watch the games, maybe study up a little bit on how some of these other teams secure the final win when they get the opportunity to. We see a Red Moon player, Versace, running up onto a La Familia player. It looks like they are kind of aware of each other's position, given how cautious Versace is. Maybe not. He's kind of
Mm,
moving in the open.
okay, I think he.
They
Well,
might have
you're.
they might have hurt each
Well,
other
I.
just
Well, no.
slightly.
Well, I would argue that it should be natural for every solo player in this kind of situation to be very cautious going into a compound like this. I don't think he has an idea, or he didn't.
Oh,
Now he does. His
the door
teammate
opened.
is there to help him. Indeed, the door open. Wasted
Yeah.
is on his own, looking to dodge around the window. I think Wasted knows that he could be better off trying to go for a disengage, but it doesn't work out. Shot in the back by Versace, cleaned up, not wasting any time. And I think that's good, because they might be thinking, okay, well, he's on his own, but where's the rest of his team? As it happens, the rest of La Familia aren't really looking to get some revenge. They're just going to move away. They take the loss and they'll rotate.
We talked about at the beginning of the show the side of Italy kind of, just falling down the leaderboards a little
Mm,
bit. And once again, La Familia starting off with a three-man team, losing one player extremely early on, not, kind of unnecessarily, in my opinion. So I said they weren't like doing much worse. They just, the other regions have just been doing better. But it looks like,
yeah,
that downward trend might be affecting their mental. They're making these mistakes that we
could
don't
be,
usually see them make.
could be. We're expecting a spot of trouble as the 100 come down the lumberyard hill and are looking for a bit of a fight. An initial knock. The Marcus will help them. The rest of Expect, I think, are avoiding it. They recognize that it's not really worth it. We're not really set up for the fight. And I think we're seeing that it's some pretty sensible plays. Yeah, okay, we're 9 minutes in and we've lost like 4 players and they've all been individual players. But honestly, I think that shows a level of respect where teams are recognizing that,
Mhm.
hey, we've lost a player. It's not worth us trying to counter that. We're not going to be stubborn about it. We'll just move away.
Yeah, it's admitting like, okay, you caught us. We made the mistake. You guys will get, you guys will get your win. You guys get the elimination, and we're just gonna pull back. It is good
Yeah.
to see teams. You know what's really good to see? It's they're close enough. Oh, actually, pause that. As a third party comes in, D100 loses one of their own players right there.
Tunnel
Definitely a
vision by
mistake was
Icy.
made. Yeah, tunnel vision indeed, because we are in the middle of a rotational phase, right? Teams are just now moving
Exactly.
into that new circle shift. That's something to always be aware of when taking a fight. But as I was saying, I think it's great to see like teams are in positions now to potentially help a team member. And then when they realize it's a little bit too late, they'll take that mistake into hand and just give it up. Whereas, at the very early stages of the game, or like, competitive, it would be in a way where your teammates aren't even anywhere close by to
My
help.
God. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is 0 HP right there.
That is how close you have to be to getting knocked out without actually getting knocked out.
Mhm.
Yeah. I know the
Oh,
revive. Oh, okay, Doran. I know that the revive would have come out, but still, like, I'd say he's happy to not got knocked, and especially with his teammate going down, it's gonna allow a revive to come through. Lodge's going for a bit of a wraparound, but I don't know how much information he has.
mhm.
Octavian, Dynamite throws a nade over the wall in the garage, looking for an angle. Bazzi inside the building on his own, but I think it's a good angle to hold on to while the rest of his team are pushing forward off the back of the initial knock on the Mega Power.
Look at these two superstar teams fight right now. Just take a look at their positioning on the map. Everybody's spread with different angles. Elijah's definitely, that was a big mistake right there. I think he thought he had a play to make. That was definitely not the case. But before Lodges went down, the split defense, it makes it so difficult for the Eastern Stars to just push in dead
Yeah.
on to finish off Mega Power. And it was just beautiful adjustments off that initial knock. And you can see the trades. Ritty with his split
Oh,
location, right? Getting that trade right back. But two of the Mega players do get taken down by the flank of Kapahala. It's like a game of chess.
Kapahara.
Like, just rewind that fight. It is literally quite looking like a game of chess right there. And Mega Power just was overtaken by the strategic positioning of the Eastern Stars.
Yeah, checkmate to you, Mega Power. I appreciate what they were trying to do, but Eastern Stars, it was just that initial knock, and building off that initial knock in the proactive way that Eastern Stars did was so good to see. Phase 3 pops up, it shifts over to the west. We're looking at a Potato Hill central circle with Bravas holding it down. Baza, 3-person team. How easily are they going to be able to hold it down? Will they have the right corner, the right side, the right hill area of Potato Hill to lock down? And will a team even want to breach them?
I think Bravis is in a great position, even as a 3-man. When they're that dead center, just some couple of shots will make teams not, fully pressing on them, and that could create, a huge spacing bubble. They could use other teams encroaching upon them as a shield almost. They just gotta make sure they don't play too passive. If they play too passive and allow a team to get too close, that team will be kind of already committed to taking the fight. You got to play more aggressive to keep the teams at bay, to deter them, while still not over peaking too hard and allowing for them to, get knocked. So they do have the work cut out for them, but Bravos should be okay. As we're looking at over at YMCA taking a fight right now with the Lemon Skate team.
Lemon Skate have been here pretty much from the start, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm wondering, how much utility do they have? Right, you don't get that much from these buildings. So the thing is, if they're gonna pick up more smokes, more nades, more ammo, they're gonna have to be proactive to take players down from other teams and obviously be in a position to loot them up. It's gonna be easier said than done as Salazar throws a couple of stray bullets in the direction of YMCA and is rewarded with a gracious knock into Deso. Should be able to be revived. I don't see Respect pushing on that as well, Zute.
No, not with them holding that high ground. They're not going to want to give that up. I love the taps. That was maybe like 2 or 3 bullets, just straight headshots. Players are so good nowadays with the M4. And Eastern Stars, they somehow caught up with the rest of the Mega, or the last player of Mega Power, taking out the Mega Power team. First team out, actually, Mega Power, the Nordic side. That is something you don't see quite often, especially from such a good team.
For sure. Well, Respect do decide to push on this to an extent. And what I love is that they're pushing it on the edge of this hillside as just one player. Maybe 2, as they have 3, would have been a little bit more advisable, but this kind of low ground dip is so at risk of nades that it's probably less advisable to push as a duo. Unfortunately, that solo player gets knocked, and as Respect were only up with 3 players, it might not have been the most advisable move.
If they had 4, that would definitely be a very solid play. I like the aggression, the attempt, right? And we see a lot of teams do this time and time again. They want to see if they can get any opportunities, but now this is definitely a mistake.
Oh no!
Sending the full entirety of the team, that they should just take the loss and let it go. I mean, they're gonna attempt it, and it's not gonna work out too well. Salazar goes down. YMCA, especially with that zone shift, is going to go super aggressive. Respect just bit off way more they can chew. The initial idea behind it, I applaud, I like it, but sometimes things just don't go your way. You got to cut your losses and just, leave it be.
Honestly, just really poor IGL decision. So I'm sorry, but they dug their own grave with that move. They literally, carved their own tombstone, dug their own grave, buried themselves. Take care of them by now. I want to see better, cleaner decision making from Respect in the future games today. YMCA, they'll take those eliminations right to the bank. They've sent 1 player into the edge of the circle on the south side. I love the anchor position play. Phase 4 shifting kind of a little bit to the east / central for the time being. It's a tricky area for the circle to be in.
Oh, definitely tricky. All there really is like some trees and rocks, but the biggest thing is the weird elevation differences all throughout the center of that zone. This is one of those zones where teams kind of just have to figure out what is playable. There is no hard dip, so to say, where a team could just position, and it's going to come down to a lot of smoke usage. And if any teams even feel comfortable breaching into a more central position, I imagine we'll see more fights around the edges of this map.
This is what I kind of worried about with Bravos, though, right? I don't think they've been as proactive as they needed to be. Uncanny, teetering on the edge of the Potato Hill western side of the circle. LLB could be slowing them down, so that could be that shield element that you brought into play. I love that use of the word, by the way, and it's something I'm gonna utilize myself in the future. Perks rolls around with the boogie. It's gonna get called out. I don't know what that move was. He pays a price.
Yeah, it's people, do that, drive the vehicle, distract the players as the rest of the teammates peak. But that was not timed correctly, not with the rest of the team. Perks kind of full sent it on his own. And you can see here, LV Lucifigos, he has to run a good bit to see the players that knocked Perks to begin with. So the timing of that was off. I get the idea. Maybe they've seen it, done in PMGC by like some of the aggressive teams like Alpha Cell. Like we see them do it really well. So at least they understand the idea. They definitely got to work on the execution. As we turn to the southern side of the circle and take a look at Eastern Stars right now, already with 4 eliminations, we saw them take down Mega Power. And now they're holding a nice, heavy location on that south, and they're playing aggro.
They are pushing. Kapahala bites off more than he can chew and gets found by Reznov. We'll find an elimination indeed, but the rest of Eastern Stars going into the shack. Molly here, Molly there, Molly everywhere. Octavian gets one nade. However, the Molotov will get the job done onto YMCA as they find themselves burnt to a crisp. Will Octavian be able to be revived? I don't know, because the 100 are there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, we get the next circle shift right there. Oh, what a shift to the hard north. Golden definitely gets blessed as their compound is still in zone. They'll be able to utilize like a low ground ridge advantage onto the rest of, you know, almost everyone in the game, as they'll have to all kind of fight in onto the high ground from one side. Bravis rotating in very quickly right there. They want to prioritize a circle, knowing they have 3 players. They don't have much chances to space players out, but it may not work out as they're trying desperately to find some spot in the zone that is open.
On the other end, I look at Game Lord's compound and I go, this is a game-winning spot to be in right now. You have the roof play of those buildings, which of course comes at the risk of getting knocked, but that elevation will be such a big game changer for your side as to how proactive they're going to be on the shots, and I think Game Lord have proved that they're more than proactive in these kind of moments. Red Moon's swinging around on towards the northwestern side. They could be putting a bit of pressure onto the members of Golden Esports. Lovely play by Coco to blow up that vehicle so it gives them a little bit more hard cover.
Coming into the southeastern side where the circle hard shifted away from, we see so many teams right here fighting. Maybe not even teams, just solo players here and there, a duo, a trio here and there. And it's just all out mayhem. This, oh my gosh, right into the face of the Evil Boy. He went prone. It did not work out. La Familia's still up though. Still got 1 player left alive. And it's just crossfires everywhere. This is what I'm talking about. This terrain is no cover, maybe some trees and rocks and some weird elevation changes, but that's the most it can make.
Aki, 98, the final player standing for La Familia, was able to get a knock into one of the Greek army players, chucks up a nade. Won't go too far with it. Will is the final solo from the 100, looks to swing around as well and try and find a bit of an entry point into the circle. All Packy 98 can do is just hope that he doesn't get spotted out and that he's able to survive against all this mayhem.
You know what's funny? I imagine Will driving by and he sees Packy, and Will is just like, yeah, you're not in a very good spot. I'm going to just leave you there. I don't want that position either. And then Will tries to find another position in the zone and, of course, does get taken down. Game Lord actually, yeah, I really love this. Game Lord's actually kind of breaching out of their compound. Notice a Vicky down there on the southwest. They're taking advantage of a very interesting strategy right there where they kind of leave their position in zone to get wider angles and like flank angles on teams that are coming in. So far, it's looking good.
Circle moves up into the hands of Golden Esports and Game Lord, and Narvello has an anchor point. Vicky, I don't know who this player is to be fair, but it seems like it's a new player for Game Lord, and it's great to see them show up. Victor getting knocked won't exactly help them. They need to get rid of Greek army if they're really gonna set themselves up for this game 1 win. All the while, Narvello on top of the roof of the buildings. This is what I talked about with the elevation point, the advantage that it gives Game Lord.
Narvello right now doing a really good job keeping up the pressure. You notice when his teammate was knocked back in the south, he did not even pause to look back that way to see if they needed help. The comms were there like, no, we got this. You need to keep maintaining control and pressure within the next zone. So the entire time he was not distracted, popping off shots everywhere he can from inside the zone to make sure they still have their spacing and their side of the circle to work with. Eastern Stars down to 1 last player. Bazzi, he's got to make kind of a YOLO rotation there. Might not be long for him. And Greek Army, by the way, they're a team that's been just slowly improving, like point by point. They average like 4 to 5 points now. every now and then, which isn't much, but it's an improvement. But seeing Greek Army in the top 5 coming into the zone in such a difficult fashion from the edge, huge shout outs to them.
Yeah, big props indeed. Still have 2 players up. They have to get past Game Lord. I know Game Lord need to shut Greek Army down, but on the other hand, yeah, Greek Army have to push past Game Lord. Don't see it happening with the way Game Lord have been playing since the very start of the tournament, but indeed they do get knocked into one of the Greek Army players. 7 up. Gonna be their next victims. 7 eliminations. It's not quite the amount of eliminations that we saw from them in, I think, like the last day that I casted them. But either way, it's a hell of a start. It's off the back of a knock. The Victor Robs is there to support his teammate.
Yeah, I believe they had like 17 eliminations that day with a record like total. As
Red Moon 21.
Or 21, okay. Yeah, okay, my bad. 21, Red Moon right now on the left side of the circle. I love their spread. They're looking to see if they can break into the Game Lord defense, because the Game Lord does have the high ground advantage over both teams, but if they could just send one player up there and hit him from the side, it could be the death of Game Lord. And you see right here, Versace will be the man to do it. It is a 1-for-1 trade though. Versace knocks and confirms 1. I feel like Game Lord kind of dropped the ball here. They were too focused on the easier targets downhill, and they did not worry enough about their sides. Great drop.
Robs, beautiful, but he is going to get naded in return. Red Moon do have the chance. I love what you brought up, where they did really focus a little bit too much on technically what was the easier side to control, and they probably took too long to control it, and now Red Moon are given that time. All the while, the circle is shifted towards Golden Esports, and all they need to do is wait. I would like to see Golden Esports use their body advantage across the whole final moment of this lobby to possibly put a bit of pressure on both teams, but we'll have to wait and see. For now, Red Moon going up against Game Lord. Italy going up against France in this game 1 of day 9 of the PUBG Esports Europe Community Tournament. Vicky swings around. Victor and Rob's gonna get in the vehicle. Seems like they want to avoid Red Moon, but like I said, you know, it's gonna be free pickings for Golden Esports if you get a knock. However, third party by Red X respond so calculatively in this moment. Marcio gonna try and crawl away. Grillo using the low ground to his advantage. This is, honestly, I feel like outside the game, or mostly, this is any team's game.
Yeah, Game Lord right now is just getting beaten up. They just one small crack in their defense and everything falls apart. Meanwhile, Golden using this ridge line that I was talking about. They are the team that can take advantage of the low ground ridge. I called it from 2 to 3 circles ago, and they're using it perfectly. The zone's just so shifted in a way where they could leverage this to the full extent. And Red Moon and Game Lord right now just surviving barely with the use of those smokes. But as soon as those smokes run out, you're not going to have much cover to work with, as Game Lord getting a nade onto Red Moon. Game Lord, you can't count them out yet. Vicky, this player, doing absolutely huge things, but smoke runs out, and he does get taken down. Golden looking like they are about to win this game.
Take care then, bye now. Game Lord, we're down to our final 2. It's 2v4. Revive might be able to be played out, but it is inside the blue, and that hurts hard. Coco seems like is going to be able to pull off the revive to Ed. Red X trying to stem up, make sure he has as much health as possible. That third person perspective is giving a little bit of angle onto Marcio as the smoke does deteriorate, taking away a good bit of defense that he has on board. The side of the angle is perfect. The circle shifts towards Red Moon. This means Golden Esports, for probably the first time in this game, have to be massively proactive. They have to be massively calculated, and that's a great molly to send Red X away. Give them the breach to pull into the side of the circle. Stay onto the low ground. It's their friend. It's their really biggest chance, but Marcio is going to get found by Red X on his own. The 3 players from Golden Esports going to have to get a little bit of sweet revenge, but that's going to be easier said than done. 3v3 to end game 1 of this day. MK14 from Coco slows down, prones down, because he knows that the high ground is a little bit of a disadvantage.
Down to a 3v3 situation. Golden do lose that one player. Red Moon doing a great defense right here. We're going to head into kind of a snake off game, but Grillo knows where
Oh
Red X's player is,
no!
but that tree is so good right now from that side angle. And there's a trade. We're back to a 2v2. Coco kind of peeks out from the smoke a
Perfect.
little bit too far wide to the right, and now it's a 2v1. Red Moon Ed. He sees two players. They might line up for him. Oh, he takes the shots, but he doesn't connect on the first one. And the other player falling right back to Golden will take that chicken dinner. Coming in from the low ground, very well executed. I would almost have to say the zone did kind of bless them, but you saw how difficult that fight was, and they played together well perfectly.
Yeah, I really overall can't fault them when you really take a step back and allow yourself to understand the context around this team realistically being less competitively experienced compared to Red Moon and Game Lord and other teams in the lobby. You know, because it's so easy for us to say, well, you know, they made a mistake here, they made a mistake there, because they did. But the context is that they're just not as experienced, and those kind of mistakes are more likely to happen. The fact is they recovered, they still didn't give up, and they got the trades in the right moments to end the game and to grab a chicken dinner. So fair play, Golden Esports. Really starting to recognize that they have a good bit of potential.
Also, Red Moon did really well. I like how they realized that going into the last three teams, they realized the team that they have to take care of, or at least hurt the most, was the Game Lord team. On top of that, Riz,
Yeah.
they just went into zone. They would put themselves in a sandwich position between Golden and Game Lord. So they played very aggressive. We saw that one player run up all the way to the tree onto the flat area by himself.
Yeah.
And even though he went down on his own, that was like a sacrifice, so to say, to make sure they pressure and stall out the team enough so that the Game Lord doesn't take full advantage and control over Red Moon. So that was also really well done. Execution could also be a little bit better, but the idea was there, which I'm loving, and you know, so happy to see.
I would say a mistake from Game Lord, an unusual mistake from them running away from that fight against Red Moon, considering they were kind of taking it for such a prolonged period of time. That was a big surprise to me. I was like, why? Just stick to it, you know. But in the end, yeah, they end up going down the third.
So still a good game for those three teams. And I think we will be taking a quick break as we head into the highlights. So don't go anywhere. Check out the match highlights from game number 1, and we'll be right back.
welcome back to the PUBG Mobile, your community tournament. One game down, and it's been a good start to the day. Zute, nice win by Golden Esports.
Yeah, it's great to see Golden Esports, take that chicken dinner. They were going against two really tough teams, Red Moon and Game Lord, and even you said it. You feel like Game Lord, almost had that game in the bag, but Golden played that perfectly and came out on top over, such a dominant team like Game Lord. So I think these teams, we're once again seeing, that storyline kind of evolve where day by day, these other teams that have the potential to secure chicken dinner and to come out big, toppling some of the, teams that have been dominating all throughout both weeks.
For sure. Looking at the match rankings of the first game, I know it's only the first game of the day, but the one thing that kind of stands out to me a little bit is that the top 9 even are all separate communities, right? Portugal in first, Italy in second, France in third. You have Czech Czech Republic / Slovakia in fourth, and it goes down. So that's just something that kind of stands out to me. It was an understated result for 7UP with 12 points. I don't know if they could have grabbed more, but it's still nothing to be sniffed at.
Oh, definitely not. Those circles were very difficult to navigate. You see a team like Eastern Star is coming in 5th overall, and that kind of just goes to show, like, the shifts were not very easy. Eastern Stars, even with 7 elims, only picking up 11 points. We saw them take a lot of fights, which was good. I think that's how you, as a experienced team, we use them as reference quite a lot because they are a PMGC level team. You see how you can utilize hard circles and still manage to get points by taking those isolated fights when the circles shift really far away and you realize you don't really have a good priority over a good position. So you play a little more aggressive on the outside edges and make up your points that way with eliminations.
Yes. At the end of the day, they're the best team in Europe. They are the best team from Western Europe in the world right now. So yes, we are definitely gonna use them as the blueprint per se, in this kind of competitive setting, and the way they formatted around Mega Power, the way they set up that hillside position spread, should I say, when they pushed on to, I forget exactly who it was. I know they got third partied by the 100 YMCA, but the way they set that up, it just showed. It shows the whole lobby what a team can do and what you should be to an extent aiming for. And we even saw it towards the end when it came down to the spread of the final 3 teams. One thing that I think, because you highlighted it on kind of phase 3 when it shifted in the direction towards Golden Esports, and then it kind of stayed there. And I'd highlighted when there's 3 teams left in Golden Esports, I mentioned could have pushed up. At the end of the day, why should they move away from what is clearly the best part of the circle down on that low ground in the non-guaranteed situation of third partying, right? There's absolutely no guarantee that they would have won that third party. So I think it was the fact that they recognized that shows that they're learning so much in this kind of lobby, and that they are like, okay, we have the best position. It's not that we're going to play defensive. We're just going to be sensible about it and hold on to it, and we'll close out the game.
Yeah. I think a lot of the teams, like every team competing here, are showing what I would like to say, like splashes of greatness, right? We see teams have the idea in mind to execute certain things, and sure, sometimes it's not done properly, but we see them, starting to understand this is the level that we could start playing at. These are the type of techniques or pushes or executions that is possible and is doable. So they try it, they practice it, and they might fail. We saw Rexpect, play very aggressive in a 2-1 split, pushing downhill to try and take advantage of the pressure knock that they got earlier. I think that's very commendable. I forgot which team it was, but we saw another team. I think it was 7UP. No, it wasn't 7UP, but we saw a player drive in with the buggy to try and draw the fire of the enemy players to give away their positions, and then have their teammates follow up right after. The timing was off, but the idea was there. So they're all practicing and trying to utilize these higher techniques.
Yeah, definitely. We're going into Miramar for game number 2 of the day. Not gonna lie, wouldn't say no to another Los Leones finish, just putting it out there. But I've noted that from this kind of game 1 results and even across the whole of today, this is a really important day for the Italian community because the top 3, France, Germany, Romania, they all only have one team representing them. Whereas Italy, they have both their teams representing them. And I could even say the same for Nordic countries, but they're a little bit further behind. I'm looking at Italy specifically. They need to close that gap against not only Romania, but of course, Germany as well. Especially when you look at Germany, no offense to LNV, but the weaker of the 2 German representatives are playing today. So it's even more important that Italy can look to take advantage of that.
Yeah, Italy, this is their catch-up day, right? Not only because they're behind in points, but because you pointed out, they have 2 teams representing Italy today, whereas the teams they're trying to catch up to only have 1. I know in the very first game, we saw La Familia, lose a player very early on. I question if their previous day's performance have, kind of gotten to them mentally, because they're starting to make some slip-ups. They're starting to make some mistakes we don't usually see. But Miramar, this is the second match of the day. Maybe the first one we could chalk it up to, just a little bit pre-game jitters, but we'll see if they start picking it up this time around, heading into Miramar. And the plane path looking decent, a little bit on the southern side, straight line shot from the west to the east.
Ciao, bella. Let's go. That's my only real form of Italian, to be fair. I hope it's good enough. But yeah, that plane path, honestly, I think it's less beneficial than it initially looks because it's straight. In a map like Miramar, and you could argue every map, but especially Miramar, a straight plane path from one side to the other is really not the most ideal. You want to have that diagonal play. 2 teams initially going for Valdemar, it seems. Respect and LMV and even YMCA. This is a little bit unusual.
Yeah, I think it's due to the plane path. Like you mentioned, if it was a little bit more diagonal, to the north towards the end of the plane path, some of these teams might feel a bit more comfortable stretching up to that northeastern side. And another problem with this, if you take a look at Miramar itself, is more of the cities and the loots is on the northern half of the map and not the southern half. So it being a southern plane path, kind of leaves a lot of questions in terms of where will these teams go and loot. And the first circle pops up. He asked for a Los Leones circle. I do believe yesterday this was almost the same exact first circle that led to that Los Leones finish.
Don't tease me, Zute. Don't play with play with my heart like that. I'm telling you. I'm liking how this phase 1 is. For the most part, a little bit of water in play. Seems like Respect, they've shifted up their players to avoid any kind of action with YMCA. LV are doing what they've done in previous Miramar games when they haven't been able to access Campo Militar. They're going for the Southern Island, which I absolutely love because it's such an not necessarily understated, but an underthought of area to go to in terms of looting phase. Yeah, okay, they have to cross the bridge to go into the mainland, but I say kudos to them for having that alternative drop spot. Right now, at the end of the day, predominantly, there's a big northern cluster of teams on this phase 1 circle, so we could see a couple of earlier interactions based on rotations.
Based on rotations, and also just with the fact that they have to drive up north to loot and then drive back down south to get to that first circle. So there's going to be a way more fighting in the blue zone, I predict, than usual on this Miramar match, right? Because it's a 2-way road. You got to go up and then you got to come back down. But not just you, like multiple other teams are driving up to the north to get to their looting locations. And as far as, traveling from Miramar north to south, there's not many options in terms of pathways and roads for the fastest speed. You got those roadsides, and then you just got mountainous terrain. So we might see a few teams clash in the blue because of that reason. Mega Power right now, looting Picado in peace finally. Power and V100, by the way. These 2 teams have a blood feud against one another. And I have to admit, Mega Power has been getting the better of them.
Really?
When DK and I were casting, we noticed something with the way the one not the 100 Real Tiger 9 plays, which is that they don't take control of the situation too often. There was a situation the other day. It was a 3v2 in Real Tiger 9's advantage, and they didn't play aggressive, and instead they try to wait for Mega Power to make a mistake. But Mega
Okay.
Power, when they make a play, when they get aggressive, it is very thought out. It is timed very well. The synergy is done really perfectly. And Mega
Yeah.
Power ended up winning the 2v3, and they were the ones to initiate, even though they were down a member. So Real Tiger 9 definitely need to work on their proactiveness and taking control of
Big
the
time.
situation rather than relying on a team that they're going against to slip up and make a mistake. Instead, Mega Power, of course, they don't really make those mistakes.
Yeah, and especially if you're aiming to get to a higher competitive level where you'll find teams make even less mistakes. Therefore,
Mhm.
you can't rely on that as much as well. So, well pointed out and observed coming out from Real Tiger 9. We'll see if they're going to be able to improve on it. Members of Glore looting up Los Leones. We really didn't see much from them in the first game of the day. See anything from them at all, to be fair. But for now in this game too, let's see if they can pull a bit of a rotation out of the bag. They're passing from El Pozo. It's really not too bad because they have that south side to kind of play around. I feel on this phase one, just
Mhm.
timing I think is going to be a little bit important.
Yeah. Right now, this is a rather slow start. Usually, we see a lot more messier fights in Miramar, some clashes, some hot drops, and we were just talking about Mega Power and Real Tiger 9, right? I just realized pretty much every Miramar match, the first 5 minutes, we get to watch them fight. And then by the time they're done fighting, teams have started rotating and other fights have broken out. So, with those two teams not fighting in the beginning, yeah, Miramar is definitely, coming out to a slower start. Everybody is just taking their time to loot. We have the map on screen now, so you'll see a few of these teams are making their way down from the north. I think after the first circle popped up, a lot of these teams realized they can't drive up too far north to go to their usual looting spot because then they'd have to rotate a super long way back down. Bravis here holding a split, or they're just mid rotation and they came up on a team and they're going to take a fight. But Greek Army with a very wide split as well. And it looks like Greek Army kind of has the advantage, but Melis definitely has to readjust quickly. And if he doesn't, he will get taken down.
That's exactly what happens. Good proactivity from Lewis. A bit of a risk on his own. However, I think there was going to be a little bit of a quick enough support that it wouldn't have gone against Bravis in that moment. Vito with the M24 trying to get a couple of headshots in the direction of Team Bravis. The thing is, what I'm looking at with Bravis as of right now is they're not seemingly looking to push it too heavily, right? That they're happy to take the kill and just then play their own game into this phase zone. Once again, I regard it as very respectful, clever play.
Yeah, Bravis, I would rather them try and make some sort of advantage push, right? They have the man
Okay.
advantage. We see a lot of these teams, like the stronger, more aggressive teams will take advantage of a 4v3, like a clean 4v3 at that. I know
Even in
they
phase one, though.
Yes, yeah, even in phase
Mhm.
1. The thing is, they just have to set it up in a way where they have an anchor point that can prevent a third party or at least stall some
Fair.
time for them to readjust. And speaking about stalling for time, Doctor has been chilling here this whole entire time, not making a single noise. He's got that he's literally right in front of him. Doctor will pop out and take the shots. Goes for the instant confirm as well. I don't blame him. Doctor's kind of out here by himself. Now he's stuck in a 1v2 situation. He's got the UMP though. He could easily take another one, another knock and thirst, and he will go down here for sure. But that is Mega Power losing 2 players to Doctor himself.
Oh man, that's Dr. Death right there. Yeah, the diagnosis is you're down to 2 players, and Uncanny will be happy with that return of investment. It's not ideal that they lost one, but Doctor, 2 kills. It's of course a little bit unfortunate for Mega Power, definitely, but losing a second player was really poor. Shouldn't have happened.
Yes. That second player, definitely miscommunication there. At least, you know, he shouldn't have gotten thirsted so quickly, but you live and you learn, or I guess in this case, you die and then you learn your mistake. I mean, that's that's just the way PUBG Mobile works. But hey, you got you get your next game, you got more chances, and the circle has shifted. Didn't really mention too much about it because it kind of just centered up on the eastern side, but he lost the onus, looking pretty juicy right now, smack dab in the middle of the zone.
And that's something that does come into play with regards to rotations, right? It was, of course, an element in phase 1, but it's a bigger circle. I think it's more impactful in this phase, Zute, because nobody realistically should want to go rotate through Los Leones, or they're going to be rotating around. And when you have 3 to 4 teams kind of rotating between the kind of north, south, east, and west side, that does possibly result in more clashes on rotations and just more early engagements from these teams. We've already seen it right now, and I can see it continuing.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. One question that I have though is because, you know, we had a Los Leones circle yesterday. These teams kind of, you know, experienced it firsthand what positions might be a little bit more dominant or might have a little bit more play options. I wonder if some teams will take certain positions in Los Leones a little bit earlier this time around, as we're looking at the far southern side of the map, and there's 3 teams involved here. LMV, YMCA, and Rex. The sole LMV player trying to do some type of third-party last attempt to pick up some points, but he is not able to go ahead and do that as YMCA come in on Rex. Rex in a terrible position, down to the last player of Musicus, and Ketu, he's 1 HP. He's going to bide his time and take the peak when the Musicus is least expected. I love that play. Ketu had all the advantage in the world to peak that, but he realized he's down to 1 HP. Hey, I'm going to just make this player sweat a little bit, get a little bit more nervous, and I'll take the peak when it's looking like he thinks I'm not going to do anything.
I think one thing that's very understated, great execution, by the way, on an engagement from YMCA, good positions, good stranglehold, Respect paid a price. But one little thing that's very understated from that is listening out for the amount of bullets used by your opponent. So you recognize when they need to reload their gun. It doesn't happen as much as or it's not as noticeable as you'd like it to be, but the best players are able to do that. They're able to listen out and track how many bullets an opponent has fired, so that when the reload needs to come through, they're able to overpeak and get the kill and make it so much easier for themselves.
Papa right now holding down the stairs as best as he can, but of course the full rush out of the La Familia team will take him down. Back to Mega Power. Mega Power now down to 1 player, potentially doing a 2v4 situation here. We saw them lose 2 players right earlier to the 1 snake, so I see 4 players of 7 up, 1 player down, 1 more player down from Mega Power, so this could be a 2v4. Reti takes a lot of damage right there. He's got to go for that first aid kit, but he's going to hold for now before the push happens. Fires through the smoke, does not connect. Trying to do a ring around the Rosie in the smoke. Gets a few damage in, but jumps right in front of down, or is that Sohn actually? And Sohn will end up clutching that fight. I love the fact that Reti didn't go for the first aid. He realizes that the enemy player realizes he's low HP and is probably going to push, and he held for that push, but it did not work out.
I don't know exactly what happened with 7-Up. I would argue that it's what I highlighted earlier, rotational engagement. I think if Eagle was involved, where Rete was able to get a couple of knocks or kills on vehicles, that might have been a catalyst. But either way, the 7-up down to just one player. A couple of teams going a bit closer to the edge of Los Leones on this phase 3 shift. Eastern Stars being one of them. They normally land on the eastern side and loot up around Impala region, so they're relatively close to Los Leones, and they're punishing Lemniscate for it.
So we're seeing a few teams rotate into Los Leones a little bit earlier than expected, and that's honestly, in my opinion, due to yesterday's game. And they're taking these key positions that kind of led to, the top 3 placements of the previous days Los Leones finished. This mountaintop right here where Red Moon is the mountaintop that eventually secured them the game. Of course, it shifted off Los Leones to get here, but if it shifts into Los Leones, you have the option to drive in from this position too. So it's a very strong position with really good play options. So teams are kind of adjusting a little bit more due to the fact that they just experienced a similar zone the day previous.
I love that spread from Red Moon. Look at one of their players looking to the north, making sure there's as little possibility of being surprised by a team coming in from behind. It's simple, but it's just so damn effective.
The spread positioning coming in huge on a map like Miramar, right? Especially when you have 4 players. All 4 players have to really know how to hold down their own angle, and not just hold down the angle, know what their job is at that angle. But Glor taking a defensive fight right here. Golden just spraying up 4 players deep. Does not give that Glory member even a chance to get some damage in. But there's one more player here, Masha, trying to stall as best as he can. He's got a few teammates coming in from the sides.
No.
Oh, a little bit too much. The fingers just slipped. His thumb movement a little bit too glossy, and he runs into the Molotov. And he's frantic right now, trying to pre-fire everything. He knows he's in such a tough position, and that's actually his teammate that came in to get the knock for him. So Masha with really good team support, helping him out there. And there's another player trying to peek the same angle. Masha down to 1 HP with the grenade in hand. Leonardo, or this is Leonardo, that team or that name really hard to read out on the fly, but they're coming in to help. Glor taking the fight back.
Let's see if they can paint themselves a bit of a sculpture and, of course, come out on top against Golden Esports. Lovely play by Masha. Such a good job for his team. They've only lost 1 player, so that's definitely not, it's definitely recoverable off the back of it. And Perek is going to indeed get another knock on to Mario as we see a bit of a sorry, not Mario, but a bit of a reposition by Marcio. Will try and give a couple of advantage points over to the members of Golden, but it could be too little, too late. Galore have been able to dig their heels in, send 2 players in towards this building. I love the engagement initially from Golden Esports today. I thought they did a great job of pushing in as a 4-man team, giving absolutely no time initially for Glor to respond. But now as they waited, now as they were uncertain, they have given the time, and Glor are using that time to their advantage as Masha picks up a second knock, looking for a third. He needs to pull off a first aid, going for back to work for the members of Golden Esports.
This is such a prolonged engagement. A really, a showcase of back and forth, close range fights, the jiggles, the peaks, the util, the spreads really playing into effect. But ultimately, Glor does go down, and the next circle has shifted out. I don't think we got a chance to see where it really went to, but it looks like it's shifting out of the Los Leones zone. It's looking like a very hard shift to the northwest. Now we got multiple other teams trying to adjust to this circle shift. That fight very prolonged, so many teams are already taking up positions in this new circle and already finished their fights kind of midway through. Greek Army losing a player right there in that shed. YMCA down to 3, holding a big split. I think they're looking to group up eventually at some point, but these rotations are so difficult to make right now.
YMCA, they had a half-decent game. First map of the day, but was stopped dead in their tracks by Eastern Stars. A good spread they have off the back of losing a player, top EC 2-1. Let's see if it can benefit them as much as they hope it will. But the stray bullets in the hands of Lorex will force them to pull out a first aid. Looking for Greek Army. The focus is there. The rest of the team, the cavalry arrives. Now they're going to be able to push the hold onto the southern edge of the circle.
I love what Larix has done here. He, as a solo, held down and pressured teams enough as a solo player so that they don't push right up onto him. And he stalled enough time for the rest of the YMCA team to come in later. And now they're here to support him. Greek Army down to 2 players. They got to make this push up the mountaintop. YMCA has a player knocked. Oh, yeah, lovely grenade. That changes a lot. YMCA now caught in a 1v2 position against the Greek Army.
Can King D pull out the stops? Will it be a turnaround 1v2 through the smokes onto the Vito? That's good on the second spray! Executed by YMCA. Solo turnaround, and that was a 1v2. It's not much, but I thought that was very well responded by King D.
Oh, beautiful aim, beautiful mechanics. Golden pushing up onto a team here. It is Red Moon. They're just a 2-man, so Mauricio tries to get that thirst as much as he can to confirm a point, but he will go down. That's another team out. Eastern Stars with an interesting position here. This huge chasm dip in the final few moments of the circle. Not much to work with, but they're tucked in enough that they can survive this circle and maybe have a few more teams whittle each other out before they stick their heads out and join the fight.
I think that's too early of a time to be pulling out this kind of position in the circle. We'll have to wait and see. Game Lord, they're getting pushed by Bravis. A bit of a spread could allow them to grab the angles and pick off the players of Bravis one by one. But that's a well-cooked nade by Morphe Boy. Doesn't quite hit the mark that he wants. Another in return by Game Lord will slow Bravis down. Red Moon in the distance, they're being picked apart by YMCA. Morphe Boy does indeed go down. Red X comes out on top. How the hell are Red Moon still surviving? I don't know. Hopefully they can answer that question later on as Game Lord are looking to, of course, find it out onto Bravis. And I think that's where the angles has really helped them. And there's nothing Bravis can do. They go down.
Bravis does go down right there. We're shifting back up to the northern side of the zone. You see B100 taking a fight with La Familia right here. 2 team just in an isolated gridlock. Really curious to see which team comes out on top. B100 pushing super aggressive as they already got 2 knocks onto the La Familia side. B100 looking like a completely different team as far as the previous 2 days goes. They wipe out the northern side of the circle. La Familia still has 1. He's doing the best he can. Gets Daddy IGL, but 1v3 situation at 1 HP. Not much he can do right there. B100 take full control of the northern circle. We're down to 6 teams. Game Lord still has 4 up. Eastern Stars tucking their heads in. Manages to keep 3 up and not lose any players. So looking good for now. Red Moon on the southeast side also with 3 players, and the circle shifts to that northeast, giving V100 an extremely favorable position on them.
Eastern Star is just turtling up inside the lower part of this valley, but they better make sure they don't poop the bed in this moment as Game Lord are going to look to try and wrap in on that western side. That's where having the angles, they were able to be proactive upon that. Narvello gets in the buggy. They're going to avoid that southern edge. This is where it becomes so much tougher for Eastern Stars. And Victor opens that door, says, knock, knock, who's there? 50 bullets in your head. Bazzi goes down. The rest of the Game Lord team are going to be able to respond.
Great follow-up by Game Lord. Yeah, we mentioned this position. Eastern Stars could tuck their heads in and just try and survive for a few circles, and they can't do much from that position. They realize as a 3-man team, though, that might have been their best option, so I don't fault them for committing to this position, as Game Lord is executing this perfectly to take them out. But Red Moon, Kona coming in as a wild card team. You see them driving right through everything, and there's no way Red Moon is going to be able to survive this one.
Oh, dear God, Red Moon, what are you doing? It's a kamikaze mission in Thrall, but so far so good. They're not out. The 100 finds a couple of bullets in their direction. Perks, last player from LMV, 2 eliminations so far. He's the only player that's on that eastern edge of the circle. All he has to do is just wait it out. Our final 3 teams have been found: the 100, Game Lord, and LMV.
LMV, Perks, I mean, I get that you're just popping shots from a safe distance, a safe cover. Yeah, but don't overpeak. He almost gets taken down there. The 100 taking advantage of that third party, or yeah, the Game Lord and the Game Lord fight between them and Eastern Stars. The 100 heard that, and they're recognizing really quickly right now what their biggest threat is on the map. It is the Game Lord side on this side of the circle, so they're gonna full commit to this. They're gonna ignore the last LMV player. Really nice prioritizing, but how good is the execution and gun skill gonna be?
Push, push, push. That's something we'll have to wait and see. LMV does actually get a knock on the Vicky, so the third party is there as enough with a nade onto Victor. Holding onto the low ground is so important for the 100 in this kind of situation, because they're aware that Perks is there, so having that low ground forces Game Lord to be in a position where they get third partied by Perks. This is great awareness, and I really put this down to some strong IGLing from Daddy and how he's able to play around based on the information he has in front of them. The blue zone is crevicing in. We're about to see the next circle, and it does shift over towards the western side. 100 are absolutely more than confident on pushing this one. They have the body advantage. They have it coming on through. The FPP mode from Icy Boss is going to make him the boss in a moment, and they're going to clean up the members of Game Lord. We're down to our final two teams. Perks, he's gotten his team into second place.
What a beautiful play out of the 100. We saw how big the circle was. They could have stalled it out. They could have waited for more things to happen. But the proactiveness out of the 100, and you called it, the IGL, the call to make that sweeping push at that exact time, at that exact moment, really took things into control of the 100. And in a 4v1 situation, I mean, LMV as a 3-man will secure that second place finish. But of course, the 100. This is the 100 team that we keep talking about here and there.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes they play so amazingly well. They're looking like, you know, a team that's so experienced, that really has a chance at just like winning, you know, almost everything. And then some days they just kind of fall off. So I want to see this version of V100, this, you know, very proactive, very confident V100 every game from now on. Even if it means them going out early, I want to see that confidence, because that was played very beautifully.
It was honestly the unity around how they played that just, when it shines so big. You hit the nail on the head. And they were relatively quiet for the early parts of the game. I think dropping and looking to go down Azahar was a little bit of a part of that, and they were able to, I think, use the northeastern side of the map as some solid entry points. But the second that they stepped up big as a team, and that sweep around in the end parts of the game, the awareness to kind of third party at the right moments between Game Lord, Eastern Stars, and Red Moon that opted to join in as well. Yeah, just really genuinely like a near perfect game from the 100, right? I think you'd agree. They didn't put a step wrong.
Yeah, I think V100 played that beautifully. As far as you mentioned Red Moon, like you said during that game, what is Red Moon doing? Red Moon, we saw all the moments leading up to that final moment for Red Moon, right? They played the split swell, they had the good rotations, and it seems like they just didn't know what to do in that zone shift. They full sent it in between 3 different teams, and of course, it did not work out for them. So, maybe that was just some type of slip up, maybe a little bit of panic on Red Moon's side. But Game Lords, once again, a really good finish for Game Lords. They didn't get the chicken, but Game 1 and Game 2, I believe they had a top 3 finish of Game Lord, looking like, you know, the usual Game Lord, just always racking up those placement points and those elimination points as well.
Yeah, big time. Good game 2. I'm happy that it didn't end in Los Leones, to be fair. It was a strong area of the map for it to finish. We saw a lot of teams step up in a good way, I feel. And yeah, good game 2 overall. Let's go for a break. Watch the highlights. We'll be back with you with the standings from game 2. Then we'll be heading into game 3 in Sanok. Don't go away. See you guys in a minute. let's go. We're back. PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament. Myself and Imperium with the wonderful Zute. We are 2 games down, 2 to go. We're halfway through. The action has been pretty hot and heavy. I was very impressed with that previous game on Miramar, Zute.
Oh yeah, the 100. That's the 100 that we know and love. That's the 100 we want to see, like, day in, day out, every match. Yeah. They took a really strong fight against a very well-experienced team of Game Lord, and they did not lose a single player. It looked like they were, like, just a better team, like, without a question. So this V100, really love seeing it. But of course, Game Lord, right? They are such a consistent team. That's a good finish from them game 1, and also really good finish from them game number 2.
I know it was a bit of a crazy finish for Red Moon. We have to recognize that back-to-back, like Game Lord, consistent results. Looking into the match standings of this second game, they got 16 points, 8 eliminations, 8 placement points. You put that in with their game 1 result of 21 points. It's really healthy from the Italian side. Unfortunately, and you know, I don't like to say it, but their Italian teammates, La Familia, they're just dragging at the heels a little bit too much. I need to see more from La Familia in the final 2 games.
Yeah, La Familia just not having a good day. I can't help but to keep thinking back on game number 1. They just lose a player doing a split, like, very unlike them. And game number 2, not, you know, having a good result as well. Yeah. We're about to move on to Sandhawk, which is arguably one of the most, you know, difficult maps to play in as far as consistency goes. So La Familia, you know, they really got to step it up. But shout out to Red Moon. They're, you know, putting some points on the board for the Italian side, coming in with 16 points. And then LMB, 12 placement points, 2 elims. Hey, points are points. They managed to kind of just keep that compound to themselves, and, you know, it was on the edge of circle, and it really worked out for them.
Yeah, I think they were a little bit lucky because around, other than the walls, around that building was complete flatness, so you wouldn't really want to breach up on that. And plus, I think just the way the game had developed, teams were just prioritizing that western side where there's a couple more hills to play around and formate yourself. But one thing that you did point out, similar to game 1, the top 8 in this game 2 were all from different regions. So, you know, we're seeing once again a taste of every country, you could say, the results of these games.
Yeah, it's actually quite surprising that it works out this way, right? Like, what are the chances and the odds that, you know, the top 8 are all representing different regions? We see in previous days there's at least like two groupings or so of different, you know, regions coming in on that first half in the top 8. But this time around, 2 games in a row, a very wide, you know, split section of points being gained by irrespective teams from each region.
Yeah, for sure. Golden Esports, I don't think they did a horrible job per se of backing up their game 1 win. 5 points in game 2, it's still 29, and 2 games, that's 14.5 average. You take it, but I don't want to see that slip too much further in game 3. They've had up and down success from my memory in Sandhawk. I believe they won a game previously in Sandhawk. They've also had kind of go out in the first 5 to 7 minutes. I just hope that it's the first option around per se, and they are able to continue on what has been overall a pretty good day for them.
And speaking of Sandhawk, something that's I've noticed that's starting to change over the past few days since you weren't here is that more and more teams are utilizing the med strat, and not just any regular med strat. They would be coming into the very late game with the med strat, and they would be close enough to the final zone where by the time they're done med stratting, like their last 10 first aid kits or the last 15 that they have enough sightline and they're close enough to the end game where they actually have been starting to play spoiler. So it's not the med strat where it's like, oh, they stack up on meds and they're like 50,000, you know, meters away from where the zone ends. but they're all actively fighting towards the end game. And at a crucial point in the game, they realize we cannot go any further, and they stack up on enough meds to slowly heal their way in from the blue and still have an impact at the very end stages of the game.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's something to be said on what might happen in today's Sanhok game. Spain need to really start kicking themselves in the face and stepping up big time, because I'm looking at their team's results so far in the first 2 games. Right now, as a community, they're coming into today 7th, but only about 50 points ahead of the UK, right, and about 20 points behind Czech Republic. Game 1, between the 2 teams, they got a total of 1 point. Game 2, they got a total of 5 points. That's 6 points in 2 games for 2 teams, right? And you look at the 100, 26 points in game 2, they got 5 points in game 1, that's 31. They're the sole UK representatives in today's games. I need to see more. We've seen greatness from the Spanish community. We've seen games where we've had Respect get in third and the side of Bravas win the game, for example. I need to see sights of that in these final 2 games.
Yeah, so we got 2 games left. Something I noticed, teams that start off slow that are just typically struggling to begin with overall,
yeah,
it's really hard to bounce back, right? If you're not doing well in the first few games and you haven't been doing well overall, it's really hard to do that bounce back. It's like each day is kind of like a reset day for these teams. And we've seen it happen before. At the very first match of some of the days, we will see a team get the chicken that we don't usually see. And that kind of momentum, kind of teeters off most of the time, but they still start from a high point and then they kind of drop lower and lower. Whereas if they start off not doing well, like you mentioned, between Bravas and Respect, they're going to continue to struggle. I feel like that's what the case is going to be. And, Sanhok is kind of the map that really can demoralize a team, because when you get, to put simply, when you get screwed over on Sanhok, you really feel it, right? Like, you just feel like, oh man, there was just literally nothing we could have done.
Yeah, for sure. Look, we're also thinking about the fact that after tomorrow, we'll be 2/3 of the way through. There will be 1 more week, 16 more games for each team, and that will then slowly whittle down. And when you also consider the fact that you have every single day 1 group doesn't play, you get to that final day and your community only has 1 team represented.
Oh yeah.
And that makes it a lot harder than to try to gain a position, or even, of course, hold on to your community's position. It's something that I know a good few of these teams will be familiar with when you think about PMPLs, but the fact that it's a different format with communities having 2 teams representing it, it will be very interesting to see how it plays through.
Speaking about these communities, something I want to touch on is, I just wonder how fun it is to be competing in this when you have another team that you're kind of working with. Traditionally, PUBG Mobile is like you have your own team and that's it. But now you have another team that you're working together with, and I can just imagine, the potential smack talk or the words of encouragement to one another. I really kind of like this dynamic, and hopefully in the future we'll see more of this, and we'll be able to take a closer look at just how these teams are communicating with one another after each day. But we're heading into Sanhok. Finally, we're in the map. We have a very southern plane path. Now, usually Sanhok is not impacted by the plane path. This one might cause a little bit of trickiness as far as the northwest or northeast section of the map goes. And I've been praying for this like almost every single day. I want a northwestern circle on Sanhok. We have not yet seen it, but every time PMGC rolls around, or PMPL, it like happens all the time. So when is it gonna happen here? It's not gonna happen today either, it looks like.
Are you reading my mind, man? I was just thinking that, and if you hadn't have brought it up, I would have. I'd love to see a Northwest finish. There's a possibility there, but of course, it doesn't really look like it. The big thing we need to think about with this phase 1, Zute, is that you have a good 35, I would argue 40% of water in play. That landmass is already kind of phase 2 near phase 3. When you take out that kind of Northwest Island and you just look at the mainland, 100% phase 3 landmass.
100% for sure. Oh, I see a fight happening early
Okay.
between YMCA and Game Lord. Yeah, so this is the very northern section of the map, and the plane path not really favoring this. So there is kind of a scrap fight. And Game Lord, a team that's been so consistent game 1 and game 2, will lose a player very early on. Vicky is going to try and run for their lives right now, as the rest of the Game Lord team a little bit further away.
Normally, Game Lord don't commit like so heavily to the north. They normally kind of stick around the bridge side of that mainland, that coastal line, and they'll have a bit of a 2-2 split. So I definitely think this is an unorthodox drop from Game Lord. Maybe they thought because of that southern plane path there wouldn't be another team venturing so north with them. They should have been more aware of that. They paid the price. However, they're more than an experienced team, and you can still pull out a good result in Sandhawk as a 3-person team. So I'm not too worried about them.
Much more difficult as a 3-man team, but Game Lord, each individual player is so strong, they could definitely make it work. And we saw a Mega Power player go down as well.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of, messy drops and just messy like 1v1s or players getting caught off guard. So plane path, like I said, doesn't usually matter, but this one does impact the game quite a bit.
Yeah. Always important to highlight it because sometimes it can be understated with the plane path and Sandhawk. Said this time around it's different. Uncanny going for a rotation across the bridge. The 100 looting up Painan. It is outside of this phase 1 circle, so I think it's a little bit important they kick their heels into gear a little bit earlier into this Sandhawk game, because you don't want too many teams crowding around you, especially considering that plane path was on the south. So technically it means there could be more teams around you. Luckily LMV, who are only starting as I think I only see perks. I don't know. Okay, what the hell? Japan and
yeah,
no, okay, that's weird. But my point is, they didn't drop in the trifecta, so it does initially, unbeknownst to the 100, make it a little bit easier initially.
LMV, I think perks might have been, catching a little bit of a snooze on the plane, so not getting the memo that it's time to jump. So we'll see what perks manages to do. But as far as perks go, his role is now extremely simple. Come in so late from behind teams and from in the blue, where you can easily just maybe get 1 or 2 in the back, right? Perks right now, all he should look to do is to secure some elimination points for his team. Don't even worry about positioning in the zone when you're solo that far away from the rest of your team. Just go for the eliminations. Be a snake. Be that player that just kind of really bothers a lot of the other teams.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I like the fact that you simplify that to just, he has one job. Let's see if he can pull it off. 7-Up, looting up Hatting for the time being. They have a very important game in terms of the potential right now. I think crossing early could be quite beneficial. It's not helping them that Greek army are slowing them down across the way. Greek army got there first, and 7-Up are low-key paying the price.
Greek army, beautiful shots. We saw Sohn get dropped instantly, and that's quite a distance to cover with those M4 shots. So it's like, it might have been team fire, like multiple players of Greek army all shot at the same time, but still, nonetheless, that player got dropped fast. You see the Game Lords here doing a pretty big 1-1-1 split. They did lose a player early on, but I like seeing the fact that they're still comfortable enough to play separate from one another and try and maintain some more ground control as they get a knock onto the Greek army.
Well, one question actually that I have for you: in your days of playing competitive, did you ever pull off that kind of coordinated 3-2-1 go shots onto a team as players when you happen to see that, or was it just unwritten or unspoken that two or three players saw an opponent at the same time and shot?
Uh, the 3-2-1 thing was definitely a thing earlier on, but
Okay.
as players got more experience and as more team synergy was built, it quickly changed more to like, do you see this player? And the answers are like, give me a second, or the answer is yes, and then the
Okay.
team fire just happens right after. It's a lot
Okay.
quicker nowadays.
Yeah.
Whereas before, the idea is like, oh, we should shoot together. So 3-2-1 shoot.
Yeah.
You know, it would take too
Okay.
much time, and there will always be comms like, hold on, I'm not ready yet. So now it's
For
just more
sure.
simplified to, do you see this player? And it's either no or yes, and then when you hear that yes, the shots just ring out a second right after.
Interesting. Interesting. Tell you what isn't simplified for these teams, this phase two shift, because it's shrunk that landmass even more. Yes, it's gone away from the Northwest Island, but it's also gone considerably more heavily towards water. I would say it's
Yeah.
50 to near 55% of water inside this phase two.
So this might not be a northwestern finish, but this is gonna be an interesting one. We see La Familia with the botation
Oh
here.
no,
The one
no,
the
no.
rotation that you love the most. I think, where are they right now? They're on the southeast, it's looking like, by the orientation of the land. Oh, they're
Bruh,
actually on the northeast right now. They're
bruh.
actually really close to this zone.
Uh,
Wait,
I think they're
it's
taking.
wait. I think the boat is actually glitched a little bit
No, no,
because
no. Look, 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 look.
uh-huh.
All I'm saying is that we're 8 minutes in and you're pulling off a botation. I just can't see it working out. I just can't see it working out. We'll have to wait and see. There seems to be a little bit of a situation either way. LNV Luis Vigos gets found by Glore. I'll pick up that one. Happy days. Not to be sniffed at on the eastern side. Japan is left on her own, as is Perks, who's just driving probably from that western island, northwestern Ireland, across into the mainland. He's actually, okay, he's taking a botation of his own, but again, I'm forced to mention,
Oh,
9 minutes in. Oh, no way.
switch seats, take the shots. I mean, I get he's a solo. Does La Familia not see him? None of them are shoot. La Familia has 4 players. 3 of them could be shooting at Perks, but instead Perks is the one that shoots back and forces all of the players of La Familia to eject from the boat. You know that meme where it's like that thug meme? That's Perks right now.
Yeah.
You know, you throw on the sunglasses, you throw on the golden chain, and that's Perks right there. He does not care.
Hell
He
yeah.
does not care.
Nope. That's always been kind of the Perks way, right? Genuinely, I've known this player since early 2019, and it's the way Perks has always been. And by God, I never really want to see him change. But I do want to see change, as Easter Star is being so brass with those vehicles and just rotating into the wild. But it does allow them to possibly punish Glore as they get into the vehicle themselves and move away, avoiding it. I appreciate it. They're going to focus a little bit more heavily leading into this phase 3.
Seems like La Familia did make it onto land. You see right there, they're on that northern side. YMCA with a nice split. I don't think they were expecting a team of La Familia to kind of breach up the way they did, but now they're adjusting really good to it. They open up with the knock, but will they take the push? I don't think they will, because they have a majority of the circle under their own control. No real need to take out this team. Not right now anyways. We're still very early on into the game.
It's weird you say that. I was expecting you to be on the opposite side of that note because of the fact that this is Sandhawk and it's phase 2 already leading into phase 3. Maybe they want to see where phase 3 shifts. So in that regard, you could be right, but I'm just looking at the fact that it's Sandhawk. So the earlier you can take the fight, the less chance you're going to get third partied in the next circle.
Mm. That fight's a difficult one to make, though. That's the main
It is.
problem.
Yeah.
They got to cross wide in the open, and yeah, the circle is about to shift, and they have a nice priority over the more central part of the circle. So they definitely want to wait for that shift to see what they need to do. The circle has shifted. We have not yet seen where, as Perks playing spoiler. Oh, missing a couple of shots right there. Not too, not something that we usually see. And there is the mini map on the bottom right side. And 7UP, they're chilling in the water, by the way, on that far northern edge.
Lovely nade by Doran, and I gotta say, great teamwork by Eastern Stars, because Bazzi pushed up, and he knew that pushing up was gonna put pressure onto Perks, where he wasn't gonna peek, so that nade cooked by Doran allowed it to be cleanly executed behind that rock to get the knock onto Perks. The risk was there for sure, but still great teamwork from Eastern Stars.
Eastern Stars playing, you know, just so well as a team, always having the cover or the support ready, pretty much. Not losing any players unnecessarily. And taking a look at that mini map on the bottom right, Game Lord with the interesting 1-1-1 split. I don't mind it. I actually kind of like it. They'll be able to create some spacing for themselves. They have given like the control of the high ground though. They're no longer deciding to play the hill. I think it would be a completely different story if they had 4 up, but with only 3 up, they're going to prioritize a safer spot instead. And of course, 7UP, they're just chilling out on the edge of the circle.
They're like, yeah, this is a yacht to us. We're just gonna be in the sea. We're gonna pretend we're in Monaco, surrounded by all the other yachts overlooking the Formula One track. But that's not the case. Reality is they're in Sanhok and they're playing a big, risky game, in my opinion. Like, you know, you're not guaranteed to be in the circle in the water in the next phase. If they have to go in with that boat, you're not gonna have one team looking at you. You're gonna have potentially 3 or 4. So I really can't see this working out long term for 7UP.
Oh my gosh! Did
I
you
know.
catch him dancing at the head of the boat? Oh, at least they know how to have a fun time. I'll give them that much. But Eastern Stars trying to have a fun time of their own right now, but in the form of violence, not dancing and chilling. Eastern Stars trying to breach into the zone. Oh, 2 nades falling just short of that window. Masha definitely, you know, catching a close one right there. And oh, yep, that one goes through the window, but not the correct one. Eastern Stars pressing in so heavily. The pressure out of Eastern Stars looking really strong. Glor trying to make their stand. 4v3 situation. Eastern Stars are on the push.
And I was wondering why Eastern Stars had 1 player in the back line. It wasn't the right, in my opinion, scenario, because you're pushing up into a compound and that 1 player was in the back line in a lower ground position, so the support wouldn't have been there. But I love the use of utility. I love the use of the mollies to keep the suppression coming through. Doran is going to be rewarded for that with the second knock, a third, and just like that, Eastern Stars pick up another bunch of kills, and they will hold on to the eastern edge of the circle.
Eastern Stars make that look so easy. You think pushing into the zone with a team gatekeeping you from inside compounds would usually result in a much more difficult situation, but Eastern Stars, it looks like they had it within their control the entire time. The circle has shifted once again. It looks like a lot of these teams, or La Familia at least, taking a swimming rotation. That is, you know, a possible strategy given the fact that it's kind of hard to spot players in the water. Rexpect trying to make their rotation through with vehicles. It is doable. You see them park their cars behind cover. They're probably just going to try and heal up before they go in. And Eastern Stars still continuing to fight their way in, taking 2 knocks onto the side of Golden.
Really bad from the Romanian side. They just don't really shy away from any form of fight. I love the position from Bazzi. It's just that little bit more forward and allows him to give information over to the rest of his team on where the Golden Esports players are. I appreciate off the back of the knock, the Golden Esports might be looking to kind of maybe separate and just disengage away from this and focus on trying to make it into the edge of the circle. Gonna be easier said than done. Inside the circle though, the 100, they breached on towards the logging lumberyard area of Tap Mock and Versace. The rest of the Lemnis skate side is going to be their next challenge. Lovely nade will slow down. Sachi Shesh is going to be able to at least provide a bit of cover fire against Reznov. His Icy Boss is going to throw another nade in the direction of Lemniscate. I love this movement from the 100. They're not slowing down. They're not giving Lemniscate any room to breathe. It's a matter of the fact if they can open that door, they say knock, knock, and that's it. Versace gets found in the corner.
Versace goes down, SKK goes down, and that is Lemniscate eliminated. Once again, the 100 playing very confident, not losing a single player in that engagement. And it's not just confidence, the team synergy is there. We saw the second one player peaked, two swung out wide, and they pressed that advantage after those knocks, and they cleared out the logging area.
So clean. Absolutely clean. Concise. YMCA, I don't know exactly how they lost two players. Either way, they're on the edge of the circle. A little bit separated away from each other. I think it's King D getting a couple of shots onto Eastern Stars, and inside the compound outside the edge of the circle, King D is able to slow down Eastern Stars. One player has made it in. As far as I know, Octavian gets knocked as well. So good play from YMCA. It may not be the best place to be, but still picking up eliminations isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, that was a beautiful nade, by the way. After he threw it, we didn't see it, but in the kill feed, that nade actually got two of the Eastern Stars. So kind of a blind toss nade, but beautifully hit. Once again, Eastern Stars, right? They're not getting the circle, but take note of the eliminations they've been getting. That's how they've been getting their points. They don't get the zone, so they'll fight their way in and prioritize points that way. The 7-up team do get eliminated like you predicted, not having the best of times, making it onto land. So their little vacation out on the seaside does come to a grim ending.
And honestly, I was really concerned with La Familia's, botation at that point in the game, but unlike 7-Up, they didn't stop. They didn't stay in the water. They were like, look, it may not be the absolute best time to be here, but we're going to take this and we are going to, work with what we have. And they moved in and they've controlled a bit of land. Next circle to shift down south. Upon this phase 5 as the blue zone is starting to make its way in the eastern edge of the circle. Rexpect lost 2, but they have Salazar and Big A left up for their side. Uncanny going to be looking for a bit of a fight, but there could be a bit of a third party from the 100 across the road.
Yeah, the 100, if they look this way, they could potentially third party, but I think they're more focused on the inside of zone. Rex Salazar gets one right there. He's just playing for points right now. He's not got much time to live, and oh, beautiful peak shots right there. Picking up 2 eliminations before he goes down. Game Lord trying to reclaim the mountain they gave up because the circle has decided to shift up here. But Greek Army coming into play right now. Greek Army taking a fight with Familia. Let's see this one happen now. Greek Army, do they have what it takes? Are they going to bounce back from their previous games?
There are 2 players knocked down. I believe it's just one up. Evil Boy was knocked himself. They had to push in La Familia from that kind of northern side. A little bit similar to Game Lord, but it was a bit more of a comfortable position per se. And now they're looking for Victor Game Lord. The peak fire shots come through. The play zone is going to finish the job. And La Familia, they survive once more. I said La Familia were kind of dragging a little bit. Well, now they're showing what they have, and they're showing up in Sanhok.
Greek Army as well. They're still up. They're still in the fight. But of course, we got Mega Power, the team that lost a player extremely early on. Well, you said, hey, they can still win it with 3 players. It looks like the circles have really favored them this match. I don't think they rotated from those compounds the entirety of the game, and they're picking up the free elims. Hey, take advantage of what you can when you get those circles. The 100 trying to make their way in, taking a lot of casualties from the Mega Power side. Now they got to contend with La Familia coming in from the northern side as well.
To me, this is not a guaranteed win for Mega Power. Yeah, okay, they do have that southern edge, which I think is definitely important. But in my eyes, when you have one either side in the form of the 100 and La Familia, if you try and be defensive, you could get picked off by one of those sides. Either way, the revive comes through and they're back up as a 3-person team. We saw Rexpect has a player healing off in the blue. It's a good position to pull off, because into the top 4, possibly a second place, 12 placing points, you take it.
Yeah, right now it just kind of comes down to, can this La Familia player get the 1v3 off? I don't think so. Down to 1 HP with no first aids, and you see Mega Power getting super aggressive. I mean, if Will decides to third party, he could help out La Familia, but no, it is too late. Mega Power take that player out, and Will putting some shot. Will gets 2 knocks right there. Oh. Almost from the blue zone. I'm telling you, Imperium, these players that have been doing these med strats, they're positioned in a way where they could still come in and potentially impact and change. I mean, to spray down 3 from this distance, very unlikely.
However, but the revives are coming through, so yeah, no, behind the rock, yeah. I was trying to kind of play devil's advocate, but yeah, BK is better off just healing off, and again, he's got his team at second place, 12 placement points. It's not pretty, but it works.
Yeah, this just reminds me of like when it actually did impact, right? If you can recall the PMGC game where the Blue Bees thought they had the win, they had everyone eliminated, and then Team Secret from way deep in the blue doing the med strat pops up at the last second and steals that chicken away. So we've seen it happen before. Didn't happen this time around, but the impact that these players have with their med strat has become more and more deadly, meting their way into the final zones and impacting the end game.
Mega Power representing the Nordic region.
That chicken, though.
Got themselves a chicken dinner in Sanok, and they take inspiration from so-called Steve Austin, and they're like, what? This is our game. But they don't know where the final player is, to be fair. But they know that they have the end game. They have the win, and game is over. Chicken dinner for Mega Power.
Mega Power with a really good win. There is, you know, somewhere in an alternate universe where that last Rex player, he starts peeking his head out a little bit earlier on with the med strats and just potentially seeing if there's a chance for him to impact the game. Just similar to the way, you know, the 100 did. But good job to Rex. They got the second place placement points. And of course, Mega Power losing a player very early on. Well, maybe that player was the sacrificial, you know, lamb, so to say, to get those circles, because let's be honest, Mega Power got a lot of good circles, but hey, they still closed it out. It was not, you know, a free win by any means. They had to hit their shots, and they had to make sure that their players didn't overpeak or get thirsted.
But it was a hard game for a lot of teams because of the amount of water that was in play for so much of this game, and even then on the northern side, because you have that kind of black hole hill, it's you know, it's very hard to really kind of take center stage on that hill. And I know that you kind of mentioned that Game Nord were kind of letting go of the high ground. Yeah, of course, not having 4 players was probably an impact for that, but I also, even if they had a full squad, I would have understood why they didn't try and take center stage, because it was still, to me, pretty early in the game. And again, I just think that's a representation of how hard this game was.
Yeah, Game Lord, they did their adjustment and it did not work out. I mean, that happens from time to time. And yeah, those hills are very hard to hold, even with 4 players. You see the amount of teams all pushing in from multiple different various sides. So that's probably from experience, you know, that the Game Lord team decided not to do that. Mega Power losing a player extremely early on and somehow, you know, just clutching that chicken, really good for them.
Yeah.
And one more team I want to mention, though, really quick, just like a side thing, you know, is 7-Up. Like,
okay,
I like how they're having fun with it. You know, they're chilling out on the boat.
I was hoping, honestly, you were gonna mention Greek Army, because I'm really happy with how they played this game. Again, it wasn't perfect, but I really see that they were trying to take control. they were trying to take control. They pushed in. They put La Familia under pressure. They put Game Lord under pressure because they got to kind of higher ground of the hillside earlier than Game Lord, and they were further away on that kind of western side of the black hole. And I see that. And well done, Greek army. You tried your best. It didn't work out in the best way, but compared to a couple of other teams, you just did what you needed to do, or what you really tried to come out on top.
Yeah, so good job to Greek Army. Of course, we got one more game left. Let's see if Greek Army can keep that, confidence and that aggression up, because they're definitely looking like a way better team when they do play like that. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We're going to head to the highlights and take a quick little break.
We are back here in the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament with me, Imperium, and you know him, you love him. He wears bucket hats. It's Sute, of course, of course. We're 3 games in. We've got 1 more to go. And Sandrock, I think, was a little bit more of a spanner in the works for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, those Sandhawk circles all the way up to the north, definitely not very nice circles. And I feel like, you know, DK's not here. We talked about the African spies, but I think Imperium, you brought the look of the Irish, but I think that looks mostly working in our favor to see these teams work really difficult circles. And it's quite entertaining for us, but for the players, oh, it's quite a challenge.
There was certainly no pot of gold at the end of the Sandhawk Rainbow, I can tell you that much. Well, I suppose for Mega Power, as you look at the match rankings, they stole the game. They got themselves first place with 22 points, but I gotta highlight the 100. Another solid result, 20 points, 10 eliminations, 10 placement points. They've had 51 in 3 games now, Zute. It's a good average.
B100 really stepping it up. Let's see this like D100 for the rest of the tournament. I said it last match, I want to see them play this way for the rest of the entirety of the tournament, but it's such a stark contrast. It's like a completely different team when they're playing on point, because it's not like they get lucky and they get a lot of points. They literally look like a team that's always able to do things like that, and it's just like some days it's just not there, and it's actually quite perplexing because I see the fundamentals. They have all of it down. And other than the 100, the Eastern Stars, okay, let's talk a little bit about them. They have not had good circles at all the past 2 matches. We have seen the circle hard shift away from them every single time, but take a look at how they get their points. They will get it through the elims if they can't get it through the rotations and positioning. So I believe on Erangel, we saw the circle hard shift north away from the Eastern Stars. Miramar was a little bit more chaotic, and they had to play that dip area, but that last game, they came in from the northeast, and you saw them take fights in the blue, and the circle just kept shifting to the west. So no real chance for them to get a good position in the circle, but they pick up 8 elimination points. That is quite a lot for the fact that they went out so early that they only managed 1 placement.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Overall, a pretty good result. I was surprised to see Game Lord only get 30 points, but that's kind of the way it can work in Sandhawk. Greek Army with 5 points, something a little bit similar. Teams just survived that little bit longer around them, right? Red Moon getting 6 points. It's 43 points in 3 games for Red Moon, so definitely not a bad day, but I highlighted how La Familia have been kind of dragging their heels a little bit in today's first 2 games. 19 points. It means that for the first time today, we have kind of 2 teams from the same community in the top 8, and that's I think a really positive sign, especially considering it's a community that really needs those points to stay in the fight for the top 3 against Romania, Germany, and France.
Yeah, I mean, I mention it from time to time. If you guys missed the beginning of the show where we showed the overall scores coming into today, you can always skip back ahead on, or not skip back ahead. That does not sound.
It's not double negative. Don't
yeah, that is.
That means they need to stay where they are, right?
So you can skip backwards to the beginning of the stream to take a look at the overall. So we mentioned Italy, they need these points, right? It's not because they're doing bad overall, but it's because they're doing so well that they can have a really good chance at taking first place. So they need to do even better right now in this last game or in today's matches. And I think after that Sandhawk game, they caught up a little bit, but they still need a bigger show out on the last match of Erangel.
For sure. And, you know, to remind everybody, if they didn't catch the start of the broadcast, France are in first with 563 points. Germany are in second with 530. Romania in third with 505. Italy in fourth with 457. And Nordic countries in fifth with 398. So there is about 100 or just over 100 points between Italy in fourth, France advancing first. So that's why we kind of are maybe being a little bit more heavy
Yeah.
on the Italian community in today's 4 games.
Yeah, so Italy is where we're cheering for them. We're not harsh on the
Yeah,
fact
of course.
that they're not a good team or they're not a good region. No, they're really good. They're so good that we feel like, they could take back that potential, top 3 position. And throughout the duration of the tournament, we see teams go back and forth as far as where the top 3 is. But before we talk any more about that, I mean, we're underway for our very last match of the day. And what a good playing path to end the day off for all of
Yeah.
these teams.
When it's ironic because when I talked about Miramar, you don't really want a straight, directional playing path. You normally want it to be diagonal. Where if you're gonna get a straight playing path, this is the kind of straight playing path you want, pretty much dead in the center, going from north to south.
Yeah, very good playing path for these teams. And Eastern Stars, of course, jumping out early, going towards that Stolber area. We saw in game number 1 on Erangel, there was not much, hot drop fights other than around farm. So with this playing path, we might see that one more time. Bravis versus Lemniscate, if I'm not mistaken. Other than that, it might be a pretty slow, quiet start for the last match.
I love the fact that Eastern Stars just aren't taking any chances in this, because even though nobody drops a Milta, because of that playing path, you might have, let's say, Mega Power go to the bridge side or near Milta, grab a couple of vehicles and go to Novo. You could have Bravis or Lemniscate. You could have had them maybe extend a little bit more heavily towards farm. It's just a little bit more of a dangerous route if they had gone for that straight drop to Milta power. Whereas on Stallbar, it's just so much safer. It makes sense. And it just once again shows why they are the best team in Europe.
Yeah, also they could start their loot phase quicker when you jump out of the plane at the beginning
Boom.
versus towards
Boom.
the end, right? Another
Yeah.
adjustment I see right now is Lemniscate. They're dropping in Pachinki. So they know Real Tiger 9 is not in the lobby. They don't want to fight against Bravis again, even though they kind of got the better trade in the beginning, but their loot was hurting, right? That's a split loot that's not
Yeah.
supposed to be shared by 2 teams. So Lemniscate taking, the priority to just be like, okay, we'll give you this guy, or we'll give you the farm location, and we know, nobody's dropping in Pachinki. We saw in match 1 nobody dropping Pachinki, so they're just gonna play to their strengths and just get the loot and then play the regular game that they're used to playing.
Phase 1 did pop up while we were talking there, and it is a little bit tricky. We're leaning towards the southwest side, a bit of Military Island and play. That plane path being north to south, it shouldn't pose too many risks for a lot of these teams. Uncanny, they're in those South George great buildings, and their entry point into this phase 1 circle is going to be easier, as they'll be able to utilize the very western main road, then sweep in probably from that kind of western side of the circle.
Yeah, that would be a very clean rotation pathing for them to make. So, with this being the last match of the day, it's starting off kind of quiet, starting off kind of slow, but we've traditionally seen teams get a little bit more aggressive when it comes to the last game of the day. The other teams are more
Mm.
warmed up, or they're ready, to in a sense like call it a day, and they just want to get the game over with, so to say, but not in the sense that they're throwing or not trying, but it's just like, let's get it done, right? Okay, we've warmed up for 3 games, feeling good, we're feeling confident. Let's just take some fights. Let's take some, rotations a little bit faster, get into the zone, speed up the game, so to say. So we might see that in the very next 2 minutes or so. But for now, very, very quiet start, as predicted, due to the playing path being so friendly for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I think the playing path with this circle is a really big test for teams who have trained heavily in retaining knowledge of how teams both drop and rotate.
Hmm.
because it's not, let's say, clustered one side playing path, so that you naturally know that more teams are going to be in that area. You need to really know where teams drop, how they rotate, and how they're going to really initially somewhat set themselves up, because that will allow your team, you and your players, to not directly counter, but just avoid any silly early game action.
Speaking of, about early game action, Eastern Stars actually picked up a elimination onto Golden. We saw two
Mm,
players in a car on that northern side near Severny. They kind of crashed into a building and just caught one Golden player off guard. I'm questioning this because Eastern Stars were in
okay.
Stallbur, and then they drive into that
Yeah.
compound. Like, it almost seemed like a targeted execution as they took that elimination and immediately, just rotated off. Like, that was the whole plan to begin with. Now, Eastern Stars being such an experienced PMGC team, that's a team that will do or has done homework on other opponents, on what other teams do. So I wouldn't put it past them for them to execute a little bit of a targeted play right there. Area.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Dead right. And again, it's not directly the angle or the example that I would be looking for, but it is a rough example of what I mentioned about knowing where teams drop with this kind of playing path and being able to counter slash play around them. And you pick up that elimination, points me in prizes, especially in this community event. And Eastern Stars, the sole remaining representatives in today's games, will want every single elimination and every single general point they can get, especially as it's the final game of the day.
Game Lords still taking their time here, looting that northeastern side of Yasnaya. Of course, Circle being far away, they don't care about prioritizing a rotation. Can't blame them either. We see it time and time again. These teams will take the time to loot up, right? And just wait for the circle shifts to see at which point they could potentially make a crucial rotation and get a good priority position in the zone. And Game Lord, well, safe to say, they know what they're doing. All right. Whatever it is they're doing, whatever strategy it is they're doing, they know their stuff. So you can't fault them if they take too long to rotate or if they rotate too quick. I mean, there's so many different ways to play different zones, and just the strategy in general from a team could be very diverse
Mm,
from one another. And there's no set correct way to do, anything in this game. I mean, but the styles from different teams could definitely vary from team to team, and it could be polished, and both teams with completely different styles could be a top 3 team at the end of the day.
you see the difference between Bravis when they are in an early engagement against a team like Lemniscate, and when they're not. They didn't interact with Lemniscate. Obviously, Lemniscate dropped in Pachinki. Bravis's rotation is much quicker and closer to this western bridge near the center of the circle. I'm not quite sure as well, Zute, and I don't know if you remember this, is if La Familia actually dropped in military base. If they did,
Mm.
they made a very early rotation into that mainland and have a bit of a split on the western side. If they didn't drop a military island, then they just made a bit of a cleaner drop onto the mainland and have been able to coordinate a rotation from there.
I can't exactly recall, but what we
Fair.
are seeing on screen right now is those faster rotations onto the center area of the map. We see Bravis holding a somewhat of a bridge camp, but it's actually a shared bridge camp as the Greek army. Oh, here we go.
Oh
Holding.
no.
Oh, the discipline coming out of Morphe Boy, but it did not play in his favor as his teammates don't have clear line of sight on
You
that
don't
pull
have
up.
one player there. You don't have one player there. In my opinion, Zute, you should have minimum two players in that
Yes.
in that in that hillside.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I get the idea. He's playing solo, so he wants to be kind of more of a trap play, but when a team pulls up fast with two players, you're caught in a 1v2, no matter which way you
Yeah.
cut it. So Bravis making a small little bit slip up there, and if he can't control the entirety of the bridge compound area, you should just take it back to the the area north of the bridge, right? If you
Mm.
can't control the entire of the bridge, just don't even put a player there at all, because having a split control of the bridge kind of gets messy, and you saw it happen right there with the Bravas player.
Yeah, we are unfortunately gonna have a bit of a Broom remake. Not exactly sure what happened that's kind of caused it, but yeah, unfortunately, what was shaping up, or what had been shaping up to be a very interesting game between the plane path being so in the middle and the phase on being kind of close to that military island and the bridge in play, and you have kind of that ferry pier hillside, it is going to be restarted. So we'll have to wait until we really see this final game of the day play out. A bit of a shame. That's the way it kind of goes. I think it's important, again, not really knowing the full reasons behind that. If there's issues for the players in game, that the lobbies restarted so that we can have as fair of a competitive experience as possible.
Yeah, that game did look like it was about to get interesting, right? So many teams already starting to get set up. The zone was in a more, not as commonly seen, played area of Erangel. So could have been a good game. But hopefully, the next one, we get a more interesting plane path. That first plane path was very, very boring, to put it simply.
Yeah.
Straight down the middle. And it's just, maybe we'll see a crazier plane path and a crazier first circle. Maybe this reset's going to entail a military circle, or better yet, I've talked about it with DK. I want to see a stalwart circle, right? Like the stalwart circle, if you can recall, there was one stalwart circle a while ago in PMGC where BTR.
What, this year? Or
no,
last year?
not the year before that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. It ended up near the Stalbert area, and it was just so entertaining because the Stalbert area is actually so. It's tricky in a way where there's so many different levels of ridges where you can have 4 or 5 teams next to each other, but just on different levels. And I remember Nova and BTR got into a huge team fight on one of the ridge levels, and it was quite an amazing game to see. So maybe we'll get something like that. Fingers crossed, but we'll have to see, right, Imperium?
We will. We'll have to see. Fingers crossed, toes crossed, whatever you need to cross to get a Stalbar finish if you do want to see it. We're going to take it to a bit of a break, show you highlights across the first couple of games while we get the players into the newly remade room, and we'll be back with the final game of the day as soon as possible. Don't go away, and thanks for sticking with us.
PUBG Mobile.
Well, now we are back. Terrible intro, but save me, cause I'm drowning over
I
here.
I got you. So we're back onto the fourth match. We had a little bit of a reset. The players were saying the lobby was a little bit laggy, their MS were a little bit high. So of course, we want to provide the best entertainment possible to everyone, including the competitive integrity of the match. Like, after all, there is a prize pool or prize money on the line, so we want to make sure all the players are able to play to the best of their capabilities. And if
Oh,
that
yeah.
requires a restart, a little bit of a delay, then so be it. I'm here for it. And we get a cooler playing path at the very least, right? This one's stretching
Yep.
from the military base to the northeast. This might change things up quite a bit for these teams. You might see some earlier engagements for sure. And Lemniscape, we saw them reset to Pachinki. I think they're going to try and go for it again. They should not have any issues with that. But taking a look at where all these players are flying, I see a lot of potential conflicts coming out with this plane path.
Well, speaking in the server before the restart of this game, and Narvello doesn't want to see a military island circle on this restart. I hope we do, and it looks to be the case. Mwahaha, Narvello. Mwaha, I said to him, military zone is the best. Learn to rotate, Nub. So this is going to be a test for Game Lord. Will they be able to learn how to rotate? Of course, there's no guarantee that's going to be a military circle finish, but it certainly does look that way.
Yeah, and La Familia is dropping in military base, so they did start off in military base right there. And here we see potential engagements. We see a few teams dropping next to each other or close to one another, at least. I think Golden and Rex, or 7-Up and Rex, are taking a fight. There's a shotgun knock in the kill feed right there. And Glor, wait a second, Glor driving into Pachinki, thinking Pachinki is clear. Oh, that is a very rough beginning for Glor. And you know, there's
F in the chats, boys.
I mean,
F in the chat.
this is what we asked for. We asked for a better plane path and a better circle. And are you not entertained?
Are you not esports entertained? Look, I genuinely look at that and I go, why, Glor? Why? But then again, maybe they didn't know that Lemniscape dropped in Pachinki before that. So I also want to give them a little bit of a, you know, ass in that one. Rexpect losing a player early on is a little bit unfortunate, but they'll be able to continue up their looting phase inside Rosshawk. The question is, though, how do these teams look to rotate into Military Island? How many of them will go for the bridges? How many of them will go early inside this circle. We're like 1 minute 10 before the blue zone starts closing in. I'm really interested to see how it plays out.
It's gonna be tough because the plane path was very south, right? Meaning a lot of the
Yeah.
teams that are used to looting in the north, they're driving further distances, and then they gotta drive back for the military circle. And Uncanny doing a really fast rotation, but maybe not remembering the Greek army does a split around this area, so the Greek army will pick up a free elimination right there. A 1v3 situation, but hopefully the Greek army responds quickly and comes and supports their teammate. And you can always see one player up a little bit north of DeVito, setting up a different angle on top of the hill. And there we go, that angle coming into play. This is the Greek army I want to see. They take their fights. They have the teamwork. They have the synergy. They have the aim too. M16 at that distance. Well done.
And I don't hold this against Uncanny in terms of the principle of an early rotation across the bridge into the island, but you're dead right. You said it, just not being aware knowledge-wise that Greek army go for the split drop. And it's not like it's the first time and the first game that Greek army have dropped in this kind of direction in this part of Military Island. It's a common drop spot for Greek army. Uncanny pay the price with the lack of knowledge.
Yeah, now Greek army has to go a little bit more aggressive. I like, you could get the angles, but now how good are you guys at cleanly executing a push? That's a big question now. So the Greek army, a more inexperienced team, so I want to see if they're able to take this push clearly or cleanly and concisely. So we got a 2-1 push, and there we go. The trade does happen through. This is looking very good for the Greek army.
Yeah, just Godzilla left on his own, and can he be the Godzilla in this moment? I don't see it happening. The revive will be played out on the save to keep Greek army up as a full squad. And I think it's also very important for Greek army that they execute this team fight as quickly as possible. They've done a great job of doing it so far. Initially 2 kills, and bingo, there you go. The 4th comes through from Elas. Because you're going to have more teams that will look for a rotation into the military island, and the quicker that it's closed out as it has, the higher the chance that Greek army will be able to focus on another fight. Glore, look at that. They've made their way across right there into the island. You have rotations or botations coming out from the likes of Gold and Esports. Bravos going for a straight fire rotation from the mainland coastline into the northern edge of the military island, which I honestly absolutely love as well. So yeah, I'm liking how teams are reacting to this phase 1 circle.
That's the first time I'm seeing this skin. And now skins typically don't affect too much in how a vehicle might work. But is it just me, or did he scope into the front of that nose of the boat and there's a giant duck head blocking?
Yeah.
And Krilo, I know you love the boat. It's a cute boat, but you gotta hop off it like your teammate did, who hopped off it like 3 seconds earlier when you guys were getting shot at. Come on, Grilo.
Yeah, but can I also ask, why in the blue hell are you rotating so close to the mainland? Right?
That is a very good question. Yeah.
You know, like you're putting such a bigger weight on getting caught out. Like I said, a lot of this game comes down to law percentages, right? So the percentage of teams being in this direction based on the plane path is going to be increased. When you have Military Island Phase 1, the percentage of teams hanging on to the coastal line already being inside of the island early on upon earlier rotations is higher. So therefore, when you put a boat closer to that land area, closer to getting caught out, that law percentage of getting caught out automatically increases. And yeah, he paid the price. Very city from Golden Esports.
I would still like to say that boat skin was very cute.
You're adorable.
I've never seen that boat skin.
Man.
I've honestly never seen that boat skin, and it's like a giant blue duck head that blocks your aim when you scope in through the front. So it's funny. But anyways, back onto the action. Glore taking a fight with Greek. Wow, this is not the Greek army we're used to seeing. What is that? Greek army. Okay, just super aggressive, but there is a player up over the top of the mountain that's looking to third party. I think that might be the La Familia team. Now
Yes,
La Familia
they're,
do have
still
4.
and I think there's still another Glore player. I'm not sure because actually no, maybe not because they're kind of similar in color in terms of gray to dark gray in that regard. And yeah, Wasted is able to catch out. Whoa! What?
Yep.
Did we just
Double.
see a double kill
Yeah.
onto Greek army from Wasted? Jesus. Okay, the hunt is on. The hunters become the hunted. But Packy, you gotta make sure you slow down.
No, not like this.
Spaghetti-O. He was caught in 4K, Zute.
Oh no. I mean, I get you're super aggressive and you're eager to finish out the rest, but getting self-knocked to a vehicle is one thing. Getting self-knocked to a vehicle and then having the enemy you were chasing just kind of skedaddle by and finish you off is an entirely different story. That was definitely a caught in 4K moment, but another moment that we're about to catch is Rex QQ on top of this bridge, the side of Mega Power, setting up a very intricate bridge camp. He's most likely going to let some of these Game Lord players through and then trap them right in the middle of everything. Playing very cautious right here. Oh, he's going to go for the grenade. Oh. So we see a bird on his head.
In the way. Yeah,
No, but for the player, I'm pretty sure that's not in the way for him because TPP right there. Or okay, there's one.
Switch over to gun. Switch over to gun. Why didn't you switch over to gun and shoot? Oh no, you're giving yourself over. I'm not saying it.
Oh, Vicky has no idea. Vicky has no idea. Oh no. Oh, aren't you glad we had a restart? This is this is quite entertaining. By the way, we missed it, but Eastern Stars is down to 1 player. They lost 3 players somehow, some way.
Really?
Like I think like 4 minutes ago.
Jesus.
Our cameraman showed it on screen, but something happened with Eastern Stars, and oh jeez. Oh, he's trying to pick him up with the buggy. Oh,
there you go.
Rex, come on. Oh, okay, still gone.
Where's it? Yeah, but where's the rest of Mega Power?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, but where the absolute hell are the rest of Mega Power? I was so close to cursing there, by the way, because Rex did such a good job, and yeah, I also go Game Lord, learn to rotate nubs, Kappa, but still, where's the rest of Mega Power? That was like a good solid minute where the rest of Mega Power should have been there to put more pressure and essentially take advantage of what Rex had done. But either way, Lodges is continuing to go for a little bit of a push on towards the top of the bridge. Takes a bit of damage, and considering he only has 5 bandages, I really question whether or not this is worth what he's doing, because he's wasting so much time.
No, that was amazing. He's gonna go for the revive on Rex, by the way. He's gonna go for the freaking revive. If he messed up that jump,
that revive can't work. That revive cannot work. No way. No way. No way.
It's gonna happen.
Are you actually serious? No way.
Oh, he's got it. He's got it. Oh no!
Oh, he hasn't got it. You spoke too soon.
Oh, he had the. Oh my gosh, he would have made it in time. Legit, that was the cleanest parkour up the bridge. Those jumps are not easy to do, especially under the pressure of your teammate potentially bleeding out. And if you make one false step, you're gonna get knocked too. You saw how much HP he lost. If he missed that last jump, he just self-knocks himself and his teammate goes down. Game Lord though, just stopping the that would have been beautiful. Can we give Game Lord
honestly?
We need to give Game Lord a penalty. I'm giving them a penalty. Minus 1 point. Come on. That would have been beautiful.
I want to give Mega Power -1 point, because when you're really thinking about it,
okay,
that setup was just so
they
poor.
Fluffed it.
They fluffed it big time, man. They dropped in Novo. There's absolutely no reason that the likes of Bravis and Game Lord should be able to set up better positions than the Mega Power. And now Mega Power are, I believe, down to 2. It was a massive fluff.
It definitely was. Well, looking at the other side of the bridge, 7 Up trying to make a crossing on this is the western bridge. Stopping real quick to get a little bit of a heal off as they have been taking a lot of blue damage. Bravis taking a fight with, Eastern Stars. The last player of Eastern Stars, by the way, has made it all the way to military base, and he's in a 1v4 situation. He's already got one, and there's a chance that he could get this 1v3. He's got to play this extremely well, though. He's got the Scar and the UMP, two really good weapons for the close range, and a level 3 vest. So there's a potential of this working out for him.
I'm curious about Bravis's like deep push into the center of the military base. Doran's able to play around and finishes one of the Bravis players off. Turns around, looks for another, but it doesn't quite work out, and he does lose his life to Super Mikkel. Phase 3, we haven't really seen where it's popped, so I think that's part of why I'm kind of questioning the deep push by Bravis into the center of military island, especially considering they had a full squad. Greek army, 2 players left alive. They're on 6 eliminations, so they've had a hell of a game, and I'm really appreciating this more confidence-driven Greek army team.
Yeah, Greek army just looking like a completely different thing, similar to like the 100, right? We see when the 100 are on fire, they are looking like a dominant team that's always been dominant. And Greek army, they still got a ways to go. We saw them make, a little bit of a slip up, full sending a push and not keeping any anchor point players, so they got flanked and lost 2 players instantly. But the confidence is there. They're playing more aggressive. They're playing more proactive. So that's a good start. And here we go. Here is where the zone is ending. We are going straight on to the military base itself. The next circle will be shifting on soon. We have V100 in the south right there with 4 players alive. Red Moon has done some sort of long rotation, probably with a boat, all the way down to the southern end and catching 1 player off guard. And here comes the shift Imperial.
Okay.
That's a good one.
And even before the circle shift, I realistically looked at Game Lord as having the best position in the circle. And it's been even more confirmed with that circle shifting up towards the northwest. 100 were in a good spot, but I always regarded those kind of roads into the entry point of the airfield to be just a little bit harder to deal with, and circle shift isn't going to help them. It's also not helping Lemniscate as they're getting bridge camped by La Familia, who were on 6 eliminations. Yeah, okay, they lost Packy 98, but that was honestly his own doing. Whereas the rest of the team have at least been able to, kind of redeem Packy 98's mistake and pick up a good few eliminations.
Yeah, the shenanigans happening out of this last game, right? We've had some pretty entertaining moments. Well, we still got some more moments here as 1 player of V100 gets knocked. Oh, he got knocked from long range by an M4 spray out of the car, maybe? Even that is a beautiful shot. You see them trying to revive that player right now. Game Lord, by the way, set up in a beautiful position on the northeast mountaintops. They'll have pretty much 90% of the circle within their sight. Not fully within their control, but they will have a good amount of information to work with.
I like this from the 100, by the way. They sent Daddy a little bit closer to the southern edge of the circle through the kind of airfield to get information and just kind of carve that path line for the rest of the team. Fortunately for LMV, it's not looking good as La Familia, the Italian representatives, punish, batter, and bruise the German side of LMV. Perks in Japan might be able to turn it around, but it's really not looking the best as Perks loses his life and Japan is left to her own devices. Yeah, okay, Evil Boy's knocked, but unless Clay gets caught out third party, possibly by Golden Esports, I can't see La Familia losing this one.
That grenade could be the start of it, though, but it does not hit Clay. And with that grenade, Clay realizes something is up, and Japan is doing a nice little spray into grass, but it gives away his position entirely. They know there's 1 player left here. La Familia will get that reset and probably take the fight, take the push. As another team, Rex trying to cap out YMCA from leaving the garage, and a good trade comes through. That just comes down to advantage in numbers. And they're actually gonna, they realize they don't have the time to revive in the blue, so they drop the first aid instead, and they're gonna just leave that player behind, rotating in a smoking Tesla too. So not the safest car to be in at the point, but that's all he can work with.
Oh no. Okay, I like it. Oh, yeah, I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. Well, he's gonna be touching the sky up in heaven as he goes down. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Just didn't work out for YMCA as we're down to 10 teams, 21 players. Phase 4. This game has been very, very brutal in the early parts, and we've seen a good half of the lobby being wiped out in the first 19 minutes. The game's just beginning realistically, and luckily that does create a little bit more landmass for the remaining teams as a circle does pop up.
Yeah, you say it creates a bit more landmass, but the whole entire center of the circle is a deep goalie area with absolutely no cover. So it's just like, I would say 60-70% of the zone is unplayable currently, and most teams will have to vie and fight for the edges and not be able to utilize the center of the circle.
Expect just one player up for the Spanish side. Nowhere really to hide. He's doing his best to run somewhere though, and finds a bit of a rock as cover. I'd recommend that he blows up that buggy to give himself that extra level of hard cover, even if the next circle shifts away. He's in the situation where he has to take it circle by circle. Japan is still alive for LMV. La Familia haven't quite finished her off, and there you go, job done. Golden Esports not really third partying the 100, now looking to wrap around on that western side, feeling that a direct shift into the circle would be a little bit more difficult to deal with, and it's working out with how they're pulling it in. Reznov is going to be the first to drive forward. However, Game Lord could be the thorn in the side for the 100.
Game Lord has adjusted their position from the northeast to the northwest, doing some sort of split, but the 100, they recognize what part of the mountaintop they want, and they're going to take this engagement with La Familia. The 100 have a player advantage, as previously mentioned. La Familia with a little bit of a slip up, losing a player early unnecessarily, but can they defend this 3v4 against the strong team of the 100?
It's really important that they don't get distracted by Game Lord. Be aware, maybe keep one player to the left-hand side, which I think Daddy is kind of heading towards, but it seems like they have two players towards there because you don't want to give La Familia too much time to recover, too much time to reset themselves, even too much time to honestly wholly disengage away from the top of the hill, and then the 100 end up having to deal with Game Lord with a potential third party. So I'm really curious to see how the 100 deal with that. A 2-2 split for the time being. Icy and Will on one side, Reznov and Daddy on the other. I know Reznov has been a big benefit to the 100 team across the board, and has also benefited from Daddy's IGL and the attitude that and the kind of real cohesion that Daddy brings to the team. Mega Power, Mega Baby, unfortunately cannot hold on and go down to the blue, with Bravis helping him along the way. Spyro's last player up for his side will be punished by Fella, who ducks behind the entry point of this little shack, and will he be able to get the kill? 5 teams left up.
5 teams left up. La Familia doing really good in terms of eliminations, actually, with 10 right now, taking a fight with V100. I think V100 knocked 1 and thirsted 1, but now they're getting sandwiched in. Game Lord, I think they realize they have a good chance to take this team out, that sandwich between 2 teams, and Game Lord turn on the aggression at the most opportune time, just as V100 is being pushed from multiple sides.
That's what I worried about. I hate to say I told you so, the 100, but I kind of told you so. You gotta focus on one direction at a time. Be aware, but focus on one. Eliminate the one side, control that one side, And as you get later on in the game, of course, a few minutes later, they could have focused more heavily on Game Lord. 6 eliminations for the French side. That's such a consistent day overall. Daddy gets knocked by Narvello. Said he needed to learn to rotate, and credit where it's due. He might not like military island circles, but they're certainly doing a good job. Narvello, in particular, as a revive, is going to be able to get pulled out and keep the French side up as a full squad.
The French side will remain strong, looking like a Game Lord chicken potentially. There's still 5 other players for the Game Lord team to deal with, but it's 5 players that are from various different teams, all battered and bruised. The Game Lord looking very dominant. Also, they got control of the circle. Look at the spread they're doing right now to get more vision and sight lines on the rest of the map.
It's just suppression. It's genuinely suppression as much as it is control, right? You're manipulating the area around you, and as they jump up, they do get the final kill onto the 100-player Reznov. Nothing he can do in that situation. 3 teams are left. Evil Boy gets knocked. Clay is now the final player up. Can Clay step up and maybe even just find an elimination for himself? Not really going to be the case. Game Lord sweep it through. They are now on double-digit eliminations. 1 more victim. They'll end the chicken dinner. They'll end the final game of the day on top, and they'll get themselves 11 eliminations along the way. It's a good day for the French side. They continue to help keep the French community on top, punching their way to victory. They get the final kill, and that's it. Game Lord chicken.
Game Lord with the chicken. It looked like they wanted to pan or punch him out, but another player was like, "Nah, I need a kill. I need my elim." So they went ahead and took the last one. The Game Lord. What a game by them. They were pretty quiet up until the end game, but that's just how they play. Actually, no, they should have been stopped way earlier on the bridge.
They should have been. Yeah,
that should not. Mega Power dropped the one. Mega Power really dropped the ball on that one, but it was entertainment. They gave us some really good entertainment at the cost of their own, success at this match.
Yeah.
I think, you throw away one game. On the upside, like, at least it was entertaining for us to watch, right? It's
yeah, for sure. And yeah, there's a lot to talk about with that last game, being perfectly honest. Really a lot we can talk about, but before we get to that, we're gonna kind of gather our thoughts, show you the highlights, get the results ready for the final game of the day, so it can help provide that little bit more context. So don't go away, stick with us, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Welcome back. We've had a great day here, day number 9 of the PUBG Mobile European Tournament. And it was capped off with a military island finish, won by Game Lord. It's a good way to end the day, isn't it?
Yeah, Game Lord coming up with that chicken. You know, they've had really good finishes in Game 1 and Game 2, super consistent days. And to be able to close it out on a military island finish with the chicken is something else. Like, we saw a lot of the teams struggle trying to making it over, and Game Lord, they were getting rained on by grenades, by Mega Power, and in my honest opinion, Game Lord should not have won that game. But then again, what the heck was Mega Power doing on top of that?
Look, I'm going to give Mega Power not necessarily a pass, but I'm just going to let them be for now and not focus too heavily on them, because honestly it was a very good day for Game Lord. They scored 80 points in 4 games. That's an average of 20 per game, right? La Familia, the first 2 games they were kind of nowhere to be seen, and I said they needed to pick it up. They did. Second place, 11 eliminations, 21 points. It's a shame that kind of Red Moon, their Italian teammates, only got 2 points, but I still gotta say props to La Familia, because in the final 2 games they got a total of 40 points.
That's
so
good.
it was still a good, once again, an overall very strong day for the Italian community.
Definitely, and shout outs to Team Glor coming into that last match with 13 points. Not a team that we usually see in the top 3, but they managed to get it done. Sure, it was 12 placement points and 1 elim, but you have to get it done somehow, some way. We saw a lot of teams struggle to get there. Glor, well, they kind of managed to way through. And B100. All right, B100, this is good. They didn't have a standout game like the previous 2, but a 12-point finish game, that is actually extremely good. If they could keep that as their new kind of base of, you know, their average game, and then start showing up a little bit when they get better circles or better situations. I mean, B100 is looking very strong, and we still got a couple days left, so they can really turn things around for their region as well.
63 points in 4 games for the 100, including a chicken dinner. That's an average of just under 16 points per game. You can't argue. I believe it's probably their most consistent individual day in the PMECT. I do want to say that, honestly, it's what we should be expecting from this team. They're PMPL near PMDC level, in the same vein as Game Lord and a few others big. They just weren't really showing it in a consistent way. It was very hot and cold. Very good day for the 100, and it was nice to see that from them. I know the last game and that kind of maybe split focus wasn't the best way to end the day, but we see what they're doing. We know what they're doing. We love what they're trying to pull off, and let's see more of that. But I think genuinely we really need to give good props to, once again, Greek Army. Such a big kind of boost in confidence, and that they're really showing in game, the aggression, the wanting to take control. It's not always working out, but we're seeing that they're really taking the destiny of their own results in their hands.
way better than the first few days. They were like getting 0, 1 point, maybe 2 points first couple of days. Now they're just changing things up entirely. Like that aggression we saw. You heard me during the cast. I was like, in this team pushing in. Wait a second, is this Greek Army? We saw how aggressive they just pushed in and just full sent it. And this time around, they end the game with 6 points, but 6 elimination points, not placement points, elimination points. You always love to see teams get more elim points than placement points, because that's what that kind of determines like how confident is the team and how good are they at the team fights and the strategy versus, you know, just rotating and potentially getting circle blast. And a final shout out to Mega Power and YMCA. They pulled it in for the Nordic side. Both teams getting 9 points. So that's a nice and healthy 18-point finish for the last match of the day for their community.
Yeah, well noted. I to be fair, I didn't really recognize that in terms of the point of the final game. Look, it's been a good day, and I'm really excited to see how it leads to the overall standings coming into the final day of week 2. Again, after tomorrow, there's still 5 more days, another week, another 16 games for each team. So the door is very much wide open. But thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much to yourself, Zute, for being here and casting with me, all the production crew in the back line, observers, etc. Everybody, all the players and stuff. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for some more fantastic G-Mobile action.